Okay, I'm going to call to order the July 21st, 2016 Board of Supervisors meeting. Please rise for the pledge. Mr. McPhillips, will you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, please have a moment of silence for those serving this country, both at home and abroad. Thank you. Okay, first up on tonight's agenda is announcements. Mr. Monroe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I will be doing, since Kathy's out of town, I'll be doing Kathy's Parks and Rec announcements. They have discount tickets available. All tickets are sold Monday through Friday between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. You can check the website. They have discount premiere movie tickets to the Regal, Edwards, and United Artist theaters that are sold for $9.50. They also have their amusement park and local attraction tickets as well. Parks and Rec selling their 2016 dog licenses. They are still taking new applications and renewals for the Bark Park. It says veggie season's underway for the Community Support Agriculture, CSA, with Crawford Organics, where fresh fruit, eggs, and yogurt are available each week. The rec is a pickup point each Tuesday. For more information, contact Crawford Organics at www.crawfordorganics.com. They have the heaviest tomato contest. They'll be here before you know it. Plant your tomatoes now to compete from August 1st to September 16th. Weighing will take place at the rec at WCP. They will be hosting their fall community yard sale Saturday, August 27th between 8 a.m. and 1 p.m. All vendors must pre-register. Reservations for a 20 by 20 space are being taken now by calling the Parks and Rec office or registering online at warminstertownship.org. And finally, Parks and Rec is seeking sponsors and golfers for our October 10th golf outing. If you're interested, please contact the Parks and Rec office at 215-443-5428. That is all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Monroe. Mr. McPhillips.
Thank you. A couple announcements from the library. The library's Cookbook Club is going to be having their third session, and the theme is going to be cupcake decorating. So what you want to do is you want to bring a half dozen undecorated cupcakes to the Warminster Library on July 26th at 6:30 to 8:30, and there will be a local professional bakery who will teach you different techniques on how to decorate cupcakes. So you want to register for that. You want to go online, or you want to call the Warminster Library, or go in person to the library and register for that. Also on July 26th and also on August 2nd from 3 to 4, you can learn about Fuzzy Friends from the 4-H Pet, sponsored by the Bucks County 4-H Club. On August 26th, they will feature exotic animals from the Elmwood Zoo, and then on August 2nd, they will host a pet show. Again, you want to contact the library for more information about that. My second announcement is just want to give a quick update on reforming the Sterling Act and what the Sterling Act means to Warminster Township. If you don't know, the Sterling Act is a law that was passed in 1932 during the Great Depression, and it enabled the city of Philadelphia to impose a wage tax, which is roughly 3.5%. The problem is the law also says that people who live in Philadelphia but work in Philadelphia but live in surrounding communities where there is a 1% earned income tax, the city of Philadelphia doesn't have to reimburse those townships that 1% earned income. So when you consider Warminster Township, where we have roughly 1,600 residents who work in Philadelphia, and if you can imagine, we have residents who go to the Warminster train station, take the train ride down to Philadelphia, and go to work. The problem is that 1% earned income or revenue from Warminster never takes the train ride back to Warminster. That money stays in Philadelphia. What kind of money are we talking about? We're talking about $800,000 annually. $400,000 would go to the township, and $800,000 would go to the school districts. Now, I'm not a school director. My mother was many moons ago, but in the audience, we have many school directors in the audience, and I'm sure they wouldn't mind having $400,000 added to their budget. It's important to note that the effort behind reforming the Sterling Act comes from the Bucks County Association of Township Officials, or BCATO. And some of the things that BCATO has been doing is, one, BCATO asked townships like Warminster to pass a resolution supporting the reforming the Sterling Act Picado is also, the legislative committee of Picado, which I'm a member of, has been speaking to legislators all throughout Bucks County. And I'm happy to report that State Representative Scott Petrie has introduced two bills, one 2256, another bill 2257, reforming the Sterling Act. And those two bills have been referred to the House Finance Committee, which is chaired by none other than Bernie O'Neill. And Bernie, I believe you'll be having hearings on that next Wednesday, July 27th, about reform. Excuse me?
We changed it because we forgot it.
Did you change the date or the location? The date. August 11th. The reason why I bring this up is this is a substantial amount of money that can come into our community, and hopefully when this bill comes to the governor's desk, please encourage him to sign it, because obviously it means a great amount of revenue into our township. Sorry for being long-winded, but...
Quite all right. It's a very important issue. I totally agree. Is that it? Announcements? Okay, thanks, Mr. McPhillips. Mr. Crowley?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Really quickly, just want to go over the new businesses in town since our last meeting. We'd like to welcome a new karate studio at 128 York Road, new owner of a building over at 626 Jacksonville Road. Delta Community Support is now at 720 Johnsville Boulevard, Building 7. The Bunker Gun Shop is at 549 York Road. Lucky Orchid Day Spa at 301 to 303 York Road. Classic Trophies at 237 York Road, and Shuckert Shoes at 607 Lewis Drive, Suite A2. As always, we appreciate these businesses choosing Warminster to call home, and we wish them great success in the years to come.
Thank you, Mr. Crowley. I have a couple of brief announcements. On the 13th of July, the board met in executive session to discuss a police grievance matter and the hiring of a finance director, which we'll touch later in the meeting. Also, I have tickets for sale. As you know, I'm a member of the Warminster Rotary Club, and this is one of our biggest fundraisers of the year. It's a raffle ticket. We raffle off 500 tickets we sell for, there are 2 season tickets for the Philadelphia Eagles, every home game for the season. And it's $20 per ticket. But it's a really good raffle, being it's a 1 in 500 chance. I'm sure Mr. Kennard, Mr. Savona, and Mr. Schuster, I'll be hitting all you guys up after the meeting, because I have my quota that I have to sell, and I want to get to them before Judge Finello does, because I see he's in the room tonight, so I want to get to them before the judge does. We can talk about that. I also, one other thing, and I wanted to mention this while the school directors are in the room. On June the 26th, I took part in a Relay for Life at Hatboro Horsham High School, and being a cancer survivor, I had the opportunity to walk with the survivors and speak on behalf of the survivors. And other than the birth of my son, it was the most powerful experience of my life. And while all the school directors are here, I would love to see one at William Tennant High School, and I would be glad to head it up. So perhaps we could talk about it. But it's a really terrific experience. They raise a lot of money for the American Cancer Society. And that's all I have for announcements. I'm going to move on to presentations. And this is a great honor we're able to do. I'm going to ask Jane Lynch to come up. We have a proclamation for Jane, and we also would like to recognize her with a street sign. So Jane, I don't know if you want to bring some family up with you.
I don't know how we're all going to get through here.
Why don't you come around?
Just slide that back.
I see you have a lot of flowers here too, Jane. That's beautiful. Very nice.
And I'm alive, too.
Yes. That was the first thing that Jane had said when we mentioned this.
Would you please come up with my family?
Would Jane's family please come up?
My son Jay,
Jay,
Denise.
Denise,
It was a little warm in here. Can you turn that? Nice.
we have a couple of more.
I also have my brother-in-law Jack, my sister-in-law Barbara, and my brother-in-law Joe here.
Okay, Jane, I'm going to read a proclamation on behalf of the Board of Supervisors, and it's a true honor for me to do this. We, the Board of Supervisors of Warminster Township, Bucks County, Pennsylvania, are pleased to recognize Jane Schrader Lynch for her many years of distinguished service to Warminster Township. And whereas Jane made history as the first female elected supervisor of Warminster Township in 1982 and was the first female chairperson in 1983. She also served on many boards and committees, most notably the Zoning and Hearing Board for 17 years and the Parks and Recreation Board for 18 years. And whereas Jane spiritedly promoted local athletic organizations by co-founding the Warminster Soccer Club, as well as the William Tennant High School booster clubs for both golf, soccer, and soccer. And whereas Jane, a 54-year Warminster resident, and mother and grandmother, currently continues to serve on the Board of Directors for the Centennial School District. So let it be resolved, on this day, the 21st of July, 2016, we, the Warminster Township Board of Supervisors, and the entire Warminster community recognize, honor you, and thank Jane Schrader Lynch for her many years of service and dedication to the Warminster community. I'm going to present you with that, and we also have another special treat. I'm going to ask Bob to come up. Bob Rosenthal is from Envision Land Use, and Bob is the developer of the Hart School. And Bob had this idea that he really wanted to name a street in there after someone from the community, and there's no one more deserving than you. So I'm going to turn this over to you, Bob, while you present that.
Well, usually I'm on the other side of the table, and Dan, if you remember when we started, we had a full crowd like this before, but it's much better to have it for you than it was for me in the Hart School in the beginning. However, at the end of the day, everybody in this room, Dan holding fort, everyone today, everyone working together on both sides of the table, D's and R's, and the school board came away and did what they had to do and make some hard cuts. And when you think that Ronald Reagan was at the convention probably in 1982 at the same time that you started. So if we're just going to give a little perspective, and I get paid when I come to townships. Everybody who's up here on this side doesn't get paid, they volunteer. And to do all the things that you've done in the township is amazing. But your heart was there when we would talk about the school and raising the families and everyone around there. But at the end of the day, the street will be named after you, and 35 new families will come into Warminster. So it said you moved here in 1962? Yeah. There were a lot of new families coming from the city and all different places, and you're part of bringing some new families into the township. So I know this is one of the best township meetings I've ever gone to, and your family should be very proud of all the work that you've done.
Jane, I'd like you to...
I can't thank you enough. I am so humbled. I am so proud. This has made a great day, a great street for my sons, for my grandchildren, and hopefully I can talk my husband Jim into moving, although he told me we're never moving out of our house. My son Andrew could not be here. He is in heaven, smiling down. I have a special person here that in 1982, nobody wanted a woman running for supervisor. You just don't win. My privilege tonight is to reintroduce to the community Beryl Drexler and Elliot Drexler. Beryl was my campaign manager, and she made us all work. And I'll tell you, I ran with Ray Regan and Carl Messina, and Ray Regan drove me crazy. Jane, you have to walk streets. I was so tired walking streets, but anyhow, it worked out and we did win. For all of you that have come tonight, I sincerely thank you. This is a moment myself and my family will never forget. And to the school administration, thank you so very much. It's nice to see all of you and my fellow board members. Thank you. Thank you.
Jane, I'm going to ask you to hang for a minute. There were a couple people that mentioned they wanted to come to the podium and say a few words, so I'd like to allow.
Oh, I forgot to say, I moved here when I was 6.
Right. I think Judge Finello wanted to come up and say a few words if you want to go to the podium.
I'm staying here. Where are you going?
I'm staying right here. Listen, Donald Trump and Hillary really want to be here tonight, but they're busy, so you're going to have to be satisfied with regular local people. I want to thank the Board of Supervisors for the time to speak to honor my great friend of over 40 years, Jane Schrader Lynch. This accolade is so well deserved, and Jane, my family is so happy for you. Okay, and of course we all support you. We all know that Jane has years and years of community service to our town, and anyone who knows Jane knows how much she loves this town. I want to talk specifically about 2 things that Jane has done in her long career of public service that I feel are not mentioned enough, not even on your campaign literature. Many years ago, Jane was part of what was called the Monroe Park Acquisition Committee. Everybody knows that little park over on Newtown Road. In fact, the entire committee was comprised of all women whose vision for our residents, particularly our children, has brought joy as well as an active and passive recreation to many. Jane was also a founding member of the Warminster Soccer Club. Think of the thousands of lives that organization has impacted again, and the happiness of our kids as they learn valuable lessons and hone their athletic skills on the playing fields. Not to mention the way this vital organization has played a part in strengthening the men and women's soccer programs at our two great high schools. And just so you know, we're in our second generation here. There's several second generation Warminster soccer players, and it all started with Jane and a few other dedicated people. These two achievements I've just spoke about alone would warrant a street naming, but so will the other great things that Jane has done in the decades of public service. Service on the park board, service on the zoning board. I was privileged to serve with Jane on the zoning board, the board of supervisors, and the school board. And I might mention all these boards that she's on. She was usually the leader of the pack, and we were glad to follow her. She's done so much for our township, and we're all the better for it. Jane, I remember how happy you were when the field at Monroe Park and the field at Nativity School were named for your good friend Ginny Gray, who incidentally also had a street named after her, and I believe it was at your insistence. All of us here and those watching at home are equally happy for you tonight. This honor is well earned for your tireless work, but more importantly, it proves that nice things happen to nice people. God bless you and Jim, who shared us with you for many years, the rest of your beautiful family, and may you have many good, enjoyable days ahead, and I wish you a good night.
I just want to, behind every great woman, is a better man. My husband of 57 years, Jim, he has put up with me, and I will say this with humor. When they named it Lynch Circle, Lynch, being me, ran around in a circle in this township. But ladies and gentlemen, I loved every bit of it, and my husband stood by me and let me run out the door and run here and run there. So for my family, who I love unbelievably, unconditionally, thank you so very much.
So I'm going to ask for a brief recess of the meeting so we could take a few pictures with Jane's family. The next on the agenda is the Economic Development Committee Survey Prize winners, and I'm going to ask Mr. McPhillips, the chairman of the Economic Development Committee.
Thank you.
Can I have your attention, please?
Well, the Economic Development Committee conducted a survey, and people who participated in the survey, there was 3 prizes we gave out. And the first prize of a one-year membership to the Greater Bucks Chamber of Commerce went to Danmar Jewelers, located on 884 West Street Road. And then the second prize, a free round at Five Ponds Golf Course, went out to Mack Motors. They're located on 635 Lois Drive. And then the third prize, that was the second prize, excuse me. The third prize went out to a free advertisement, the Township's fall newsletter. Mr. Schuster, you can tell us more about that, I guess.
Yeah, and the,
In the fall, when in the fall will that be coming out, or?
I don't know the exact date, by any chance, do you know, Megan? Okay, I think it's around the October timeframe. We're putting together stories for it right now, but we'll have an advertisement slotted just for them.
But anyway, that prize went to Wayne's Automotive, and they're located on 207 York Road. And Jason and I both serve on the Economic Development Committee, and what we found out was, yes, we would like to see more of a turnout in the survey, but the information we did receive was very helpful. And Jason, you want to, you were involved in it just as much as?
Yeah, no, it was good. We got some responses from some of the businesses in town. Opened our eyes a little bit. Some of the things that we expected to be in there were there. Others we weren't thinking about. For example, we're going to release all this, but the proliferation of temporary signs and enforcing ordinances against them. All this information will be made publicly available as we're putting it together, and we're going to put it out there, and it'll be on the website. But hopefully, it's going to help guide us on how to improve the business environment for our existing businesses, and also attract some more diverse businesses into our township. I appreciate the work of everybody on the committee. Mr. Joe Bernard from Havas is with us tonight. He's on the committee. Thank you, sir. Everybody's worked hard, and we thank these businesses and everybody who participated.
Hopefully, they went easy on the Board of Supervisors on the survey.
The ones we paid, yeah.
They actually were complimentary to the Board of Supervisors.
They were.
Yes.
It's a lot of it, I'm not breaking any news, is taxes, up and down, from local to federal. So
Of course.
we'll get all that together, and we'll present it, and we'll make it available to the public, and will hopefully help guide us in the future, so.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Next up on the agenda is Tim Hagee, the Warminster Municipal Authority. He's going to give us an update on switching to North Wales Water. Tim has a presentation for us, along with a PowerPoint. Tim, take it away.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. It was a nice turnout for Jane. We're going to talk tonight briefly about capital projects, update a little bit about what the Warminster Authority has done in normal capital projects, normal capital work. We'll talk a little bit about municipal authority operations. There's been some questions about how our system operates, specifically on the water side. I'm going to talk quickly about the importance and cost of water. I'm going to talk about perfluorinated compounds, PFCs. We're going to talk about regulations for those PFCs. Now, what is the Warminster Township Municipal Authority doing about PFCs? And if we have some time at the end, we'll do some questions. I know we're on a tight schedule. So capital work, we got a picture of a paver. Why do I have a picture of a paver? It's my favorite part of water main installation. That means the project's done. The water main's in, services are in, the road's no longer bumpy, we're smooth. I always tell the pavers they're my favorite guys on the water installation work. We've done some of the roads that we've done, and we've paved Boxwood Circle, Dara, Nassau, Irma, and Sloan. New streets this year we've done. Have not paved yet. The water main installation is complete. Barness, Dager, Glazer, Little, and Dixon. There's a contract out right now. I think the bids are due next Wednesday for that paving work, so we'll get to that this year. So those roads will be smooth also. Cost us about $1 million to do about 1.25 miles. We have about 130 miles in the township. Sewer pipelining. We rehabilitate sewer mains with lining. We line it and we renew that pipe. The last few years, and including what we're going to complete this year, we'll have about 20,000 feet, a little bit more. It's slightly less than 4 miles of water main that we've renewed. We don't have to dig up the streets with this lining project. With the process, saves us about $100 a foot, a linear foot. We're also going to be doing a force main in Jacksonville Road. I'll warn you about that. We're trying to get that work done at night as much as possible. That contractor is trying to do that for some of that work. That'll impact traffic. That force main, the sewer force main, is from a sewer pump station. It pumps it in under pressure to a gravity main, which then comes down to the wastewater treatment facility. We have a number of force mains and a number of pump stations in the township. This one is located at near the entrance to Warminster Heights on Potter Street. It's going to go north on Jacksonville Road through the intersection of Street Road till it terminates at a gravity main. We're renewing pump stations. We've reconstructed a number of them in the recent past. On the left, you'll see two large pumps. They're grinder pumps. We completely redid the pump system, piping and motors, motor controls. Those two gentlemen in that picture are a large part of that project. Currently, we're working on sewer pump station 5 at Davisville Shopping Center. You'll see some construction work at that location. So that's all I have on capital projects. We'll talk a little bit about the water system, how it works. This is a typical well building. We have 18 of them in the township. 3 of them we took offline in 2014 when we found out we were exceeding the provisional health advisory limit for PFAS and PFOA. We took 3 more off in May when they came out with a long-term health advisory limit.
May 2014.
2016 we took off 3 additional. Lewis Drive elevated tank. So pressure in the system, we need pressure to deliver water. We have 7 elevated tanks, 7 storage tanks. It provides pressure, storage, and fire flow needs. Additional pressure is provided by a booster station. Booster stations we have a number throughout the township. This is our largest booster station. It's a central booster station. It provides pressure, fire flow. This is the inside of that station. There's 8 pumps, 4 of them larger, 4 in the middle are the largest. They're only for fire flow. The 2 on to the left of the screen provide pressure to the east gradient. There's 2 pumps on the right side of the screen that provide pressure to our high pressure district, which is Ann's Choice and the Franklin Realty development. All right, so what government service do you use the most? There's a presidential election going on. I don't think too many of us talk to our president too often. Our senators or congressmen, we may talk to them a little bit less. But you get a little closer to home, state government. State government, maybe we see them a little bit more. Even local government, we see them. But who do you touch the most? The water and sewer service provided by local government. You can skip that part. Skip the next one. So you interact with us every day. Every time you turn that tap on, so obviously we're very. You use us very often. Average user uses about 15,000 gallons of water per quarter. That's an average user. Costs $73.35 per quarter for those 15,000 gallons. Most of us pay bills monthly. That's $24.45 per month for 15,000 gallons. Cost divided by gallons, there's 15,000 gallons. It's less than half a cent per gallon delivered under pressure to your house 24 hours a day. Now, you've read my newsletters, I hope. You know that we're switching our water supply to North Wales. My newsletters say there's no way to produce water more cost effectively than by our own well system. Surface water is much more costly to treat. I've heard that we're going to double, triple. Some people said you're going to quadruple my bill. That's not going to happen. We're going to go through 3 scenarios. First is a Navy Air National Guard. They're responsible for these contaminants. They're going to pay all additional costs. Second is they pay some of them. And the third is they pay none. So the last scenario is the worst case for our customers. And that scenario, our current cost, $73.35. quarter, $24.45 per month. Those additional costs, if we buy all North Wales water, it's about $13.42 a month. North Wales water happens to be some of the best municipal water you can buy. The treatment process is state-of-the-art. Very high-quality water. Not too many in the nation can meet that standard that comes out of the Forest Park plant. So, worst-case scenario, we don't get reimbursed for anything. Future costs would be $113.59 per quarter, or $37.87 per month. Now, I wish my cell phone bill would be $37.87 per month. Obviously, nobody wants to pay more than they have to. The Warminster Authority is going to be working hard to get what we think is federal government to take care of the federal government's problem. Perfluorinated compounds. There's 16 of them that I know of. There's a large family, there may be more. 2 of them are the only ones that we're concerned about right now, PFAS and PFOA. They have a long-term health advisory limit. Military use them for fire training, fire suppression. They trained with them, they thought it was safe. When they were done, they washed down into the grass. How did we find it? We had what's called UCMR3. It's an unregulated contaminant monitoring rule. Every 5 years, the government asks us, the EPA, asks us to test for up to 30 unregulated contaminants. Since we're over 10,000 customers. Smaller ones, they take a random sample, but we test every 5 years for 30. I'm going to use good and government in the same sentence. It's good government. They're looking for things that they aren't sure are out there. Science has evolved on them. They decide they're going to check them to see if they actually need to regulate those compounds. What were the regulations and what are they now? The provisional health advisory limit was set in 2009, and it wasn't set in parts per trillion, but we're going to talk in parts per trillion so we can compare apples to apples. PFOA was at 400 parts per trillion. PFAS was 200 parts per trillion in 2016, May. They combined the 2 chemicals and set a limit of 70 parts per trillion. So it went from 600 parts per trillion to 70 parts per trillion as an advisory limit. So let's talk a moment about parts per trillion. Parts per trillion is a little bit hard to understand. When I started this business, I think we used to talk about stuff in parts per thousand. Then they got crazy and they went parts per million. And then we knew they were insane, they went to parts per billion. Now they can measure to 2 parts per trillion for these chemicals. A part per trillion. Part per trillion is 3 seconds in how many years? Anybody have an idea? It's 100,000 years. 3 seconds in 100,000 years is approximately 1 part per trillion. The labs can now analyze this stuff to 2 parts per trillion. So what have we been doing? Some people say we sat on our hands, haven't done enough quick enough. This is the first generation of temporary carbon treatment system. How long did it take us to put it on? 6 days. After we got notified, we were over the limit, DEP, we had that system up and running in 6 days. What else have we done? Part of our agreement with the United States Navy is to get public water to people who have private wells with elevated levels. We needed to put in a water main. Water main's in and done. It's done last year, middle of the year. Newtown and Kirk Road. We hooked up a number of services on that road. This is another typical connection for a house. How many we got done? The answer is all of them. United States Navy contract, we completed them all in 2015. This one is is an Air National Guard connection. That cooperative agreement took a little bit longer for them. We completed all of them. They're all done. Anybody with a private well that wanted to be connected to our system, and some outside our system. We've connected some in Warwick. All those people who wanted them done are completed. We've moved on to second generation. That first generation treatment system we put up in a hurry. This is the second generation. It's a little hard to see from this photograph. There is 4 tanks in here. We have 2 years of data, how that's working. It was working really good until we got the new long-term health advisory limit lowered from 600 to 70. We're on our 3rd generation of carbon. We test different carbon, see what we get to perform better. That 3rd generation of carbon is going in next week. Yeah. And so with this well and with the other wells that we're testing, it's going to waste. We have to test at the wastewater plant. So we're not sending that into the system. This is well 10. Well 10 had to be designed. It had to be approved through a waiver of land development. We had to go to 2 zoning hearing boards because we did a design as quickly as we could. The design was not approved as it was designed by DEP. We got DEP's permission. We had to make the building a little bit larger, so we had to go back to the zoning hearing board. We had to get a contractor to build this building. We had to get people to put, the building is the beige building. The red brick building is the well. That building is up. Equipment's in. It's running. If you read my newsletter from July 1st, we expected to have water going through it then. We've had it going through about 3 weeks. We got testing done. I've made this presentation to a couple community groups, and I told them honestly I'm scared. This is the first treatment system in the state that I know of. One of the few in the nation. Treats municipal water. We didn't know how it was going to perform to our water. Everybody's water is a little bit different. We got our first test results. Joe Nolan from CKS is here. He was a big part of that design, the construction, all the approvals that needed to be done. And through Joe's hard work, through CKS, that test result came back. And I'm happy to say tonight, very happy to say, we got non-detect. We're going to test that system, see how long we can keep it at non-detect. While it's running, it's going to waste. This is the inside of that system. These are 2 large tanks. Joe, how damn?
7-foot diameter, 14-foot high.
They hold about, if I got it right, 6,400 pounds of carbon.
Each vessel.
It's pretty simple. If I can get this to work. I can't. Goes through the first tank, goes in the top of the first tank, goes through that bed of carbon, comes out the bottom, gets fed up to the top of the next tank, goes through that bed of carbon and comes out the bottom. Thanks, Mark. Yeah. This is our well 26 treatment system tanks. That was this picture is a couple weeks old. Ceilings in, rooms painted, piping's I think started today. That should be up and running in about 3 weeks, as well as well 13 system. Go ahead. I apologize for this slide. It's York and Ivy Land Road elevated tank. What's here? It's our well 6 location. It's got a well, and it's got our North Wales Water Authority interconnect. We've always had, well, how long ago, Joe, was that?
2003.
About 2003, we got the interconnect with North Wales. We've taken water from North Wales every day. We have a contract with them that we have to take a minimum amount every day. That's where our water supplies coming from now through that interconnect. We're working with North Wales to make additional interconnects so we have some redundancy in the system. That was our backup location. It is now our main water supply. Our wells will now serve as backup if we need them. We're taking about 2.8 million gallons a day from North Wales. We average 3 million gallons a day. We're upping that by about 150,000 gallons a day. We've done that on a schedule so that we don't disrupt the system, see how it operates. It's a whole different way to operate a water system. Joe and our crew is working to make those changes that are necessary. So far, it's worked pretty well. Okay. This is the Forest Park Water Treatment Plant. It's located in New Britain Township. State-of-the-art facility. Gets water from the Delaware River, goes through the Bradford Reservoir. The Bradford Reservoir goes to Lake Galena at Peace Valley Park. There it flows down the creek into the intake of the Forest Park Water Plant. We worked on that contract for a little while. There's a lot of moving pieces. We took a tour, I think it was about 2 months ago. The board went there, saw that facility in person. Again, they have advanced membrane filtration. Their treated water has 0 PFCs in it. Source water is soft. Surface water. It's interesting, today I came in Gladwin, and there was a trail of suds. Somebody was washing their car using soap like they would with our old water, our well water. Our well water is hard. Somebody asked me that at one of the last meetings, our water was hard, and I said, no, it's very hard. This is soft. You'll notice it difference when a lady's in the office. She said she opened up her washer, and there were suds everywhere. So it's a little bit different water chemistry. And I'll take some questions. Anybody have any questions? I can't see Larry's hand yet. Yes.
Where did you get the money for this?
Okay, so.
Hang on one second, Tim.
Yeah.
Would you mind using the microphone for people that have
Oh,
questions?
sure. Well, I'll repeat the question. If that's okay? Or you want them to use the microphone?
Yeah, let them use the
Sure.
microphone. So folks at home can hear what's going on. Thank you.
So the question was, where are we getting the money? So for the work that's been done, and I'll recap, we've done temporary treatment, we're on a second generation of treatment. We've ran water mains, we ran water services. All that money is being reimbursed by the United States Navy. So they're about $2 million right now that they reimbursed us for. We have more work to do. But for the additional water, they're paying for additional water for the wells that we took offline that were over the limit. Larry.
Larry, microphone, Larry, please.
My name is Larry Menkes. I'm on the Environmental Advisory Council. And one of my questions is, will you be bringing the no-detect wells back online as soon as possible?
Our plan is to use North Wales water if we can get it. We have a contract. We bought the last large amount of North Wales water that was available. We're pushing the limit of that facility. So if they have more than 3 million gallons and we need it, they'll sell it to us.
You had spoken before at one of your other presentations that you were concerned about long, hot, dry spells.
Yes.
Would it help if residents would voluntarily cut back on water use during these times, to ease the strain on the system?
It's always advisable. Use water wisely.
So watering lawns and perhaps washing cars would be something that they could do to help.
Right now, we're good. But we certainly would contact the customers if we needed them cut back. Anybody else?
Please take the microphone.
How did you get this pushed through so fast? When did you start all this? And how did you get all the approvals?
Well, that's a great question. So how did we do it that fast? That's not the usually question I get. But we started immediately. I think, Joe, when we talked the same day we talked with DEP, when they said we were over limit in 14.
It's kind of a two-part question. One is you had mentioned that well water is always less expensive to treat and that you're looking for money for the North Wales water from the Navy. If it's less money to have our own well water, why wouldn't we ask them for money to treat our own well water instead of buy water from somewhere else?
So the Navy is paying for us to put treatment systems on the wells that are over. They've dug in their boots hard. Not over the limit, they don't want to pay for it. Our board decided we're going to go above and beyond and go North Wales water.
So then the second part of my question is, and I'm sure people have asked you this already, and I'm sure you read about it, that Horsham got money from the state to treat their own water. So how come we aren't in the same boat? Why are we buying it from somewhere else?
We're going to put treatment capabilities on the wells that we can. Horsham, I understand, got $10 million. We're in contact with our state reps to see if we can get funding the same way.
I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but when those letters come out, I don't understand a darn word of them practically. I never was good in science in school, and we get the letters, and it means nothing to me. Is there a way to make the letters that you send out more legible for everybody who's not a scientist?
You're talking about the Consumer Confidence Report. A lot of that is dictated by the state, how that has to come out. The other letters explaining what's going on in the system, I think they're much more readable, but the Consumer Confidence Report is very regulated, how it has to be, how it has to report. So I don't know that I can make it a lot more readable.
When we got the letter in January about the water, everybody got scared. And then we got another one, was it March or May or something like that? And then everybody got really scared. And here you guys have been doing a ton of work and being proactive, and we didn't know about it. And I guess I'm asking, in the future, can we know about it and understand what's going on?
So I get questions about, why have we hidden this? Why didn't we tell people what we were doing? And probably last week people said, I never heard about it. They say that. I've never heard about it. It's kind of incredible to me. I had a person tell me that the first time they heard about it, we must be hiding it. And I asked them if they read the intel. So I asked them if they read the intel, and they said read it every day. I said, well, last week there was 5 articles in the newspaper about it. So then I asked them, did you read our newsletter from 2014? Did you come to the 2014 meetings that we had, 2 of them? And I say, did you read the 2015 newsletter? Did you come to 2 2015 meetings? Did you read my letter from February of this year? Did you come to the 2016 meetings? We had 2 of them. Did you read the July 1st letter? We've put it out there. Always hasn't been, people get it in the mail, they don't read it. It's been out there. People have called us. They call us, and they really call us a lot. They're concerned. I get it. You have to have confidence in your water supply. I understand. I had to get on social media. I've never been on social media before. I'm not the Facebook professional, let's say.
It's a good time, Tim. You
Yeah,
enjoy it.
yeah. Yeah, I do get a lot of notifications about you moving about. I'm going to hang out with you more. So it's a different world as far as getting the message out. We're slowly coming out of the dinosaur age on that respect.
You're talking about a lot of carbon filters at the different wells. Would you recommend, or do you think it's a good idea for the average homeowner to have a carbon filter in their house? I see a lot of advertisements for people that want to sell you filters. Would
Well,
this be a good thing?
If you get a carbon filter from S&G and he's here tonight, that's a good idea.
Oh, we get a discount on the...
Yeah. So I'm kidding. So people come to my meeting sometime, and I think Jacqueline was there last meeting, and I kidded with her about getting a question wrong, that she had to drink tap water. She's not going to drink my tap water. Not going to happen. And people aren't comfortable. I drink it every day. I'm fine. I drank it today. I drank it from out of that machine up front here today. My son comes to work with me. He drinks it. But if you're not comfortable with that, you want an extra level, you want to polish our water even more, put it through a carbon filter. Not a bad idea.
Tim, can I ask you a quick question? It was brought up at a recent presentation you did. The filter that you put in your refrigerator,
Yes.
will that filter out PFOA and PFAS?
So if it's carbon, it may. It depends on the level. It's really hard to know without testing. But carbon is what is in those filters that you saw.
Right.
It's a very effective means to treat PFAS and PFOA. I've always put carbon filters on my municipal water. I don't like drinking the chlorine. Never have.
So, sorry. Are our wells still being used, or are we getting 100% of our water from North Wales?
So we have purchased about 2.8 million gallons a day. Yesterday and today was about 2.8. We were struggling to get the additional 150,000 gallons a day operationally today. But we are looking to go to 100% North Wales by the end of July. That's our goal. So right now you're getting 2.8 million out of you're probably doing about 3.2 million today from North Wales. So the rest are coming from our wells.
So at the end of July, all the wells will be used just as backup?
Okay, so a difficult question. People
Sorry.
say, are you going to use the wells? Will you use them? If we're using 3 million, we can buy 3 million from North Wales. We're going to use only North Wales. If they don't have it, I still got to send it to people. So we're going to use our wells as backup and we'll for additional supply. Our goal is not to.
And the wells that are going to be used will be below the level, correct?
All the wells that we have online now are below the level. So they range from 17 parts per trillion to 44 parts per trillion. Every well in the township has been affected.
Tim, can I ask, I'm sorry, I just wanted to ask a follow-up on that. If you do use the backup wells, I mean, are some people, the way the distribution works, I think it's a lot of people don't understand the way the distribution works. Will some people get, like, almost all the water from that well, or will it just be evenly distributed through the system? So if we're getting 3 million gallons from North Wales, will that, whatever PFOA and PFAS levels are, will that be diluted by the North Wales water?
Yes, if you happen to live right next to a well that's on, when you're using water, you're going to get more of your percentage of your water from that well that's next to you. But if you don't happen to live right next to a well that we're using at that moment, you're going to get a pretty mixed, or still almost entirely North Wales water.
Okay.
How do you know that you live next to a well?
Microphone. There you go, Maria.
Sorry, my name is Maria Brzezinski, 1098 Roberts Road. I came to this township in '73. 3 men have died, and right across my house. on Mans Road from tumors, cancers of the head. 2 women next to my homes have died of cancer of the breast. For 4 years, I lived in Iceland. When I came in 1973 to this township, I knew we were drinking dirt. And I automatically refused to use the water of the township. How long have you been in charge of the water of this township? Let's forget about the Navy and everybody else. Somebody that was taking care of the water of Warminster knew that that water was contaminated for a long time. And that was my question, that was that about how do you know where the wells are in the township? Can you go into the internet and find each well where are located?
We do
Because
not,
the
we do
people
not
I'm
publish the
mentioning
maps.
to you, they didn't own homes when I moved in there.
If you come into the office, I'll show you exactly where the wells are nearest to you.
And the office is right across the street
Yes.
from here.
Be happy to.
Thank you. Thank you.
Couple of comments and questions. The first thing is the rate increase from 27 to, excuse me, 24 to 37. That's going to be about a little bit over 50% increase. That's pretty steep. But that's worst case. What about the best case?
The best case is the Navy and/or Air National Guard pays for that additional water. That's the best case. We've gone to battle with the Navy previously. Our attorneys have been successful. If we need to do that, we have the capability. So best case scenario is that they pick up the tab.
So
in the meantime, we're buying water for all the wells that are off. They're paying for that replacement water.
Okay, so the best case is that we won't pay any more then? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Just one more other question. So hearing everything, it looks like it came about because of a lower standard. It went from 400 per trillion to 70 per trillion. Is that correct?
No, it went from 600 parts per trillion combined to 70 parts per trillion
Okay, so
combined.
that seems like a pretty dramatic decrease and drop in the standard.
Yes.
Okay,
That's
so we're paying all this additional cost because much more stringent standard now than what we had before. Why is it so stringent? Any thoughts on that?
Yes. The municipal authority, we take heat for this because we follow the rules. We should go above and beyond. We should know what health effects are caused by everything that's in the water. We don't have that capability. We don't have a lab, we don't have scientists, we don't have toxicologists, we don't have those resources. The EPA sets those limits, we follow them. So they set the limit, they change the limit.
Right, but it gets tested every 5 years, and right, it gets tested every 5 years?
No, they do 30 additional new items. Science has changed, they've evolved their thinking. They have a candidate list for us to look for.
And when was the last time it was tested, before this all came about?
Wasn't tested before.
It was never tested before?
PFOS, PFOA was not tested before UCMR 3.
And you were comfortable that not being tested before the water?
I don't set those rules. I'm not saying I was comfortable with it. When they set the rules and the limits, we're going to follow it.
Okay.
Tim, I got a question.
I can take questions offline later if we're running out of time.
I got a question for you. Have you identified all the areas of contamination within the township?
Yes.
Okay. The other question is, obviously, there's two sides to this question here. The one side is obviously we need to bring water into the township, and it looks like you're doing that, and we appreciate that. But the other side is, can you go again, talk about again, what are we doing to the other side of the equation where people who may have been contaminated, what steps they should be taking, what they should be doing?
So I always preface this answer with, I'm not a health professional. And I get it. People have had, they've had this at higher levels previously. They may have drank water at higher levels for a number of years. But we suggest they talk to their health provider. Now, I talked with some of the board members. We haven't billed the Navy for administrative time. We're going to do that. And if it works out, we're going to take that money, make it available for some blood tests.
Okay.
So I don't know how many we can cover. I don't know what costs. Let people have an understanding of what levels they are. I know the Navy doesn't want to do that.
There's a few more that want to ask
So
questions.
you asked one thing. You asked, have we identified all areas? Every single well in the township has a level. Our wells are scattered throughout that distribution system.
So if someone lives in the Speedway and they're under the understanding if one side of their street is contaminated, but the other side's not, could they come in and clarify that to see if that's the case or not the case?
No, Dan. We've got contamination levels throughout the whole township. And if you think the contamination stops here, County Line Road, you're mistaken. Water doesn't follow the municipal boundary. It's astounding how far it's got.
Thanks.
There's a few back here too, Larry, want to ask a question.
Just, this is a point of information, you can take it whenever you want. The Environmental Advisory Council has been working on this for over 4 months. We're involved with NGOs that are off-site. We're involved with a lot of people. We're involved with the health effects. There's a lot going on behind the scenes that I can't talk about right now, but we're going to have that testing paid for, we believe, by the Navy, and there's already been an intent to sue for that by one of the law firms, and I plan to be among the first to have my body tested on my own dime. It's $425. Now, I will say this, the job of doing this is tremendous because Warminster and this area has some of the highest levels in the country. And this is a tremendous thing, and I believe the Navy wants to make us an example, that if they can get away with anything short of what they should do here, they can do it for the other 644 bases, 1,000 airstrips, and others in the country. And there are probably 10 different NGOs that are working on this behind the scenes, not ready to come out with it. And we're going to get a lot of support on getting the Navy to do the right thing. And they said they won't, but what they're saying is they don't want to, and they're going to.
Larry, would you mind passing that back? There's a few back there that have questions.
I have a couple questions. The first question is, are there any detectable PFOCs inside North Wales water right now?
No.
No. All right, and the ones that are, the water systems that are being treated now in Warminster with the carbon filters, are there any PCFOs?
PFCs, we are not sending any of that water into the system from the well sites that we're putting treatment on right now.
Okay,
So what I said earlier was that our well 10, we ran water through that brand new system, and it came out at non-detect. I got the results from Forest Park. That was done second week in July. The results came back non-detect.
So the water that's still in Warminster now, because y'all said y'all want to use Warminster as the backup wells, that water still has PCOs in it, but not as high as it should be, right?
All our wells that are operating now have very low levels of perfluorinated compounds in them.
Okay. My next question is, the last picture you showed on there was of New Britain Township, right?
That was of the Forest Park plant located in New Britain Township.
And they don't have no PCOs or anything in their water, right? And you said that water was soft. So is the long-term care plan is to stay with North Wales, or are y'all trying to develop something, or like monitor what New Britain Township did?
So we have a contract with North Wales for 10 years with 5-year renewals. Yes.
If I could add, I don't live here, but I've been really concerned about your water, my own kids' water, and my grandkids, and all children who are the first ones to suffer. And I just want to congratulate the Intel and the Courier for having the guts to do this long list of articles. And I want to commend you for being as proactive as you could. I just want to point out that the EPA, for a very long time, decades, didn't tell anybody that this was really poisoning people. And they must have known it from whoever died or their relatives died if they lived there. So New Jersey, for instance, has a PFOA rate of 40 that they allow, and Vermont has 20. And some people say 1% is a good PFOA, or it's okay. But it is a very dangerous chemical, both of them. And the fact that they're unregulated is a shame and a crime that this was allowed to go on, and we can't blame the people who work in the water department or the people who were in the Navy and saw their buddies die because they didn't want to be court-martialed or whatever happens in the Navy when you speak up. So I'm here because I care about kids and I care about clean water. And yes, a filter can help get some stuff out, but I've not heard of one that takes out all of it, and they're testing it. And while they're testing it, if I lived here, I would be very happy to get clean water and pay more for it, and in the meantime, work my head off to get the people who should have stopped it. And the EPA did give them credit, go around the country in 2014 and singled out Warminster, Warrington, and Horsham as particularly affected. And so we need to be glad that that happened. And it's a shame that it went on so long, but we can't go blaming everybody in the world. It's just, how do we move forward, and how do we protect the children, the babies that aren't born yet? They'll be the ones getting the first problems, and the young children and the frail elderly and people like that. So I just want to commend you for having the courage to discuss this and tell your residents where things are.
Thank you for your kind words. You want me to take, I'll take questions offline.
If you want to take a couple more, as long as we don't get redundant, I know people have questions. And
About the change of stand.
oh, hang on a second, Larry. Larry, there's someone.
Hi, somebody like myself, I used to live here when I was a child. I don't live here anymore. I actually did move back to Horsham for a while. I'm divorced now, and
Come on back.
Story. What about the people that aren't aware of what's happened? People that moved out of state, out of the country or whatever, and they're not aware of how bad the weather really was. How do you get that word out to them? Other than, I mean, if I didn't stumble on it on Facebook, I would have never known.
I don't have a good answer for you how to communicate with people who moved out of the township. I know the Intel is trying to communicate with the world, right? The world. I don't know other than that. I mean, it's certainly on Facebook. The Intel's done some good reporting about it. It's been out there. But if you don't live in a community that essentially has an airstrip like we do, we happen to be very unique. We had the North base in the middle of Warminster. We have the Willow Grove base on the other end.
Hi, my name's Judy Hoover. I'd like to know if there's going to be an opportunity now for people that didn't opt to hook up to the system before, those that have private wells, to hook up now, or will there even be a mandate for them to do so?
So the question is, can you hook up now? Yes, you can. You can hook up now. We only have one street, I think, in Warminster without a water main. So if essentially, if you wanted to hook up, you can. If you haven't had your private well tested, I'm speaking to the audience, anybody here knows somebody in Warminster has a private well, ask them if they've got it tested. If they haven't got it tested, Ruth Shaw at the Navy can get that test done for you. If you do it on your own, it's probably about $250 in that neighborhood, but the Navy, the EPA for the Navy will test it for you.
Thank you. I echo this lady's statement over here. I commend you for your work that you've been doing. But
thank you.
I don't know if you can answer this or not, but we live at Warrington, and I know this is Warminster, but apparently we are being hung out to dry. From what I'm gathering through, my wife has spoke to people who work for the Water Authority, and apparently they're just not really going to do much of anything about it. I don't know if you would know of anybody that we could get in touch with that could help us.
So, can you get help? So I know that Warrington is working on design. I know their engineering firm, Joe Nolan's company, CKS, is their engineer. I know they're in design. I know they're working with the Navy and the Air National Guard. But how far they've got, I can't speak for that.
Tim, I think we're going to pretty well wrap this up. I mean, you're available to anyone that wants to.
And I'll be available out in the hall if anybody wants to ask questions directly. I won't take any more time.
And you're
in the
available
meeting.
in your office, anyone that wants to reach out to you? But I appreciate you coming and answering the questions.
I think there's some confusion about standards. Up until very recently, the EPA was using short-term standards good for 10 days exposure. And they have recently been told to beef that up to long-term standards, which is a lot different than what we've had.
Thanks, Larry, and I'm sure we'll be getting more updates from you in the future. You're busier than I am, Larry. I see you on the news all the time at all the meetings. You're to be commended for your efforts.
I've got cancer. My wife is
Me too. Me too. And I wondered for myself if that's where it came from. I do, so I understand, believe me. So anyway, with that being said, the next agenda item is to consider the approval of Resolution 2016-27 for the Warminster Township Public Water Supply. And I'm going to hand that over to Mr. Schuster to review before we take action on it.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, this is a resolution which has been prepared for the board specifically for this matter. Obviously, we all recognize the situation that the residents have been in and continue to be in, and that the authority is making great strides to go ahead and rectify. Through this resolution, the board would be taking a position and requesting of the federal government, specifically of the Navy and any other federal agency applicable, to do 5 things. And I'm not going to read off the entire resolution, but I will read off the 5 things and explain a little bit. Number 1 is continued testing of private wells. We want to make sure that the Navy still conducts those tests through the EPA so that private wells can get tested and they can know their levels, if any, and get connected to the public water supply if necessary. Number 2, along with that, disconnection of private contaminated wells and connection to the public water supply, again, feeling that the Navy should pay to have those systems connected if the contamination is found. Number 3, blood tests for all WMA customers to determine their PFC levels in their body. We feel that the Navy should step up and conduct these tests, pay for these tests so that all current and former customers can know what the levels of this contaminant are in their body. Number 4 is reimbursement of all expenses incurred by WMA related to the purchase of surface water from North Wales Water Authority to replace the contaminated groundwater in a manner which will prevent the current WMA customer rates from increasing. We believe that the customers should be held harmless. They shouldn't have to pay for a rate increase, and at the Navy, although the wells of the authority are below the EPA threshold, that the authority and the customers prefer to go ahead and purchase from North Wales at no additional cost to them. And number 5 is reimbursement of all expenses incurred by WMA related to the modification, construction, and installation of interconnections for the distribution of water from the North Wales Water Authority to WMA customers. Currently, there is one interconnection in place. That's how they're able to move so quickly. Obviously, if the authority is going to rely heavily on North Wales, one or more other interconnections should be built so that they don't have a single point of contact. Those are the five items that we asked the board to approve and take a position on this evening.
Okay, can I get a motion on the resolution?
Motion.
Mr. Monroe, second?
So moved.
Mr. McPhillips, any other comment from the board?
If possible, Mike, can you just chime in your thoughts on this?
The adoption of the resolution?
Yes, please.
I think it's important for the board to adopt the resolution. As Mr. Schuster pointed out, it does sort of encapsulate all of what Mr. Hagee just talked about, and it sets forth in a form that will be permanently preserved in your resolution book and as an official position of the township that the Board of Supervisors is asking that the Navy step up and do all 5 of those things. And it's the probably strongest sentiment that the board could send to the United States government to let them know how you feel about their handling of this crisis.
Oh, good. Any other comments from the board? Any from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
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 And the chair votes aye. Motion carries. Next item up is the public hearings, bamboo ordinance hearing. Consider adoption of ordinance 730, bamboo ordinance. Mr. Savona?
Mr. Chairman, this is the time for consideration of the advertised ordinance number 730, which is a comprehensive ordinance regulating the planting and the maintenance of bamboo within the township. As the board is likely aware, bamboo is a non-native species of grass that's been introduced to this area of the state over many, many, many years. And unfortunately, many times those individuals who have planted bamboo were unaware of the effects of planting that plant, that it's pervasive and that it runs with very little encouragement across property lines and can do tremendous damage. It can also be very, very expensive to remediate or to try to remove, sometimes costing tens of thousands of dollars to do so. Many communities have started to step up our regulation of these invasive species, and this ordinance does exactly that. If the board approves the ordinance, it would make the planting of bamboo prohibited in Warminster Township. Many varieties, I'm not going to go through all the scientific names, but there's a number of various kingdom and phylum of bamboo that would be prohibited. There are some exceptions if you are containing it appropriately in accordance with the regulations in an above-ground pot or in a vessel that's sufficiently guaranteed to prevent it from running outside of the township, or outside of its planted area. There are also additional regulations for those individuals who have it planted currently. We're not requiring them to go through the cost and expense of trying to immediately remove it, but we are setting limits on how pervasive they can let it grow. It can't grow within 10 feet of any property line, within 40 feet of any public roadway or public right-of-way, and all individuals who maintain this stuff on their property would have to follow those limits. If it gets out of control, the township has the ability to ask them to remediate it so that it would not affect neighboring property owners or our roadways or sidewalks, things like that. So the ordinance has been advertised, and we'd recommend the board consider adoption.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
You have to have the hearing first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is the hearing open?
Questions or comments?
What's that? Yeah. Yeah, you have to have the hearing. This is the hearing first, then you can adopt afterwards.
I got it.
Yes, my name is Ken Sager, 693 Shelton Drive in Warminster Township. I have a neighbor who has invasive bamboo on his property line. He has it for several years. I incurred thousands of dollars of damage on my side of the property line because of the invasive bamboo. Also, the bamboo, it's running in nature, so it can run 20 to 50 feet across the property line. I have a deck in the shed where it's growing underneath the deck and it's growing underneath the shed, and it gets worse year after year. Also, the bamboo, if anybody knows about the bamboo, this thing can grow 3 feet a day. You can have bamboo which starts at maybe a ½ inch. In 4 weeks, it's 40 feet. It can grow that fast in that month. My neighbor, it's totally out of control, bamboo on his side. My property is a complete mess. Other things is that anytime I have an ice storm or a snowstorm, the bamboo is hollow in nature, so it leans. When it leans right on my side of the house, leans on my fence. Other things as well, it's a health hazard as well. I have hundreds of birds in the bamboo. So basically, the fishy matter from the birds are all over my house. My car's in the driveway and in the driveway. I consider that a health hazard. Also in the bamboo, the reason why the birds are there is because the insects are there and the mosquitoes are there. I can't sit out at nighttime now because the mosquitoes in the bamboo. So I think because of all these things, I would strongly urge the township to pass this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sorry.
Any other
Anyone else?
comments for the board's consideration?
As I understand the ordinance, it said that the township could take remedial action if somebody goes over the limits. Is that what you said?
The township has, well, there's a couple of enforcement options that the township has. The township can send notice to the property owner that they have to undertake whatever measures are necessary to remove it. The township can fine or cite the individual property owner who's maintaining it illegally, and the fines are as much as $1,000 per day, which oftentimes proves quite the incentive to someone to comply. Or the township does have the option, if it got to an extreme case, to elect to send either a crew or of our own or a contractor on site to remove and remediate the problem, and then lien the property owner for the costs or bill them back.
That answers the question.
There's no obligation on the township's part. That's purely an optional format.
understand, but that's part of the ordinance.
There are many different options that we've built in to allow that to be enforced. You're welcome. Any other questions or comments? If not, Mr. Chairman, I believe that's the conclusion of the hearing, unless the board has comments or questions.
I do not. Does any board members? No? Sir. So we'll close the hearing. Now we can take action. Okay. I'm going to call for a motion to pass ordinance number 730, the bamboo ordinance. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mr. McPhelps, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Crowley, any further comment from the board? Any from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, the chair votes aye. Motion carries. Yeah, that's really, that
bad.
must be horrible to live with that.
You have
Yeah.
to see it.
Yeah,
I mean, what I say
I
in
can only
words,
imagine.
you have to go there and actually see it.
I can only imagine.
And if I could make one note, just so you know, I know you have an active situation, it does take 5 days?
5 days before the ordinance is effective.
So if you have any complaints or any issues, please wait those 5 days, then feel free to let us know. We can go ahead and force. We just can't do anything tomorrow.
It's 5 days from today's date?
5 days from the date of enactment. So it'll
See
be
Monday morning?
effective on the 27th.
So it will be enacted on the 27th, so 5 days after.
It's enacted today, it's effective.
27th.
The 27th.
So I complain on the 27th.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Awesome.
Thank you very much.
All right, you're welcome.
You're welcome, sir.
Okay.
I get my house back, I get my life back.
Okay. Next up is public comment. Township residents have the opportunity at this time to comment on any non-agenda items, subject to a 5-minute guideline, as recognized by the chair. Come on up.
Thank you. My name is Adrienne Clark, and I'm co-president of the Friends of the Warminster Library. Recently, the Friends mailed out approximately 20,000 annual appeal letters. However, due to the cost of the postage, we weren't able to reach everyone. So if you did not receive a letter and you'd like to make a donation to the library, please see one of the librarians at the circulation desk. Over the past year, the Friends donated $15,000 to renovate the children's area. So the next time you're in the library, please stop by and see the new attractive space that also includes a smart board. In the upcoming year, the library would like to transform areas that are currently underused into areas that will be multi-purpose use. In other words, we want to make your experience at the Warminster Library even better, a place you'll want to visit and bring your family and friends to take advantage of the many events and services offered. If you'd like to become a Friends of the Library, you are welcome to attend any of our meetings. We meet on the second Monday of each month at the library at 7 o'clock. And also, as a friend, you will have the benefit of being entitled to free museum passes. So again, we ask for your donations. Thank you for your time and consideration, and all of your donations will be greatly appreciated.
Excellent. Keep up the good work. Anyone else, public comment? LM, come on up.
Hi, I just want to give a very quick tonight, but a update because of the Wawa situation. I got this packet, thank you, Greg, for making it so we could read it, this week, Tuesday, I think it was.
I believe you're correct.
Or yesterday, yeah, Tuesday
Tuesday
or
or
yesterday.
yesterday, yeah.
Anyway, regardless, looking at it, there's many questions that we had in it. I don't know, there's a lot of inaccuracies or things that are just-
Discrepancies?
Discrepancies, thank you for
There
the
you
word. In it, from what is said. In fact, on one page, it says they're putting a 10-foot fence. The diagram shows an 8-foot fence. It's marked 8 foot on the diagram page. So we would like to have it all corrected that way. Now, I know they said to put things in writing. We've done this already in writing, and everything that came back is like we never submitted something before. This is before you came, Greg. Okay, and Michelle just gave it to Steve about 2 weeks or 3. She's got it down just recently. Anyway, I have also talked, because in here it says they're waiting for the consent of CVS to put in the things. Am I correct with that? With what you wrote in here, it says depending on the consent.
First of all, LM, I didn't write that. That was written, it was prepared by Wawa's attorneys.
Okay, well, they said you reviewed it all, though.
I have received it, and I sent it to Mr. Schuster so that he could get it to you as promised right away. I
Okay,
haven't
I-
gone through it with a fine-tooth comb. Frankly, I wanted your comments so that I could take those back to Wawa and definitively tell them, you've been more involved in the discussion than anybody else,
Okay, 'cause see,
including Mr. Wiesner, who's now gone. So I wanted Mr. Schuster to send that to you so you could give us your markup, and I could take that directly to Wawa to make them
Okay, so you
address those
basically didn't
questions.
work on this.
I have not written that agreement. I know you've been telling people I did, but I have not. Mr. Hecker
Okay.
prepared that.
Well, no, this is what I've been told by Wawa, that you did.
No,
Okay,
Wawa
now,
didn't tell you that.
Let me just tell you some more information, because, anyway, in here it says when they get the consent of CVS for a height bar. Well, they already had that, because they put height bars in, so why do they need more consents? Okay,
Because,
they're just
okay,
stalling.
Ellen, listen, because they're not a party to that agreement. CVS
Yeah, but they
is-
already put a height bar in.
CVS is, you're asking why does CVS have to consent, and why is it written that way? Because CVS isn't a party to this order.
Right.
And they can't, and they can't sign off and agree to things, so the only way to phrase it in this agreement is to make it conditioned on CVS's approval.
Did they have to
CVS
make an
approved.
approval for each time they put the height bars in the last year? I mean, they've already had height bars, so didn't they have an approval for that?
I believe the issues that you're talking about with CVS relate to replacing their fence and things like that.
Well, that's part of it. So anyway, hearing that CVS doesn't contact, I called them.
CVS is, I've already seen an email from Wawa saying that they have spoken to CVS, and CVS is in agreement to proceed.
And when did you get that email?
Lori sent Mr. Hecker forwarded me a copy of an email from Lori maybe last week.
Interesting, because CVS called me back, they investigated, they gave me the names of the people, and they had not heard anything about the fence. Then I called Lori today. She said, oh, I did get somebody, and we're having an appointment. She gave me 2 dates, and I said, well, who did you talk to? She gave me 2 names. Okay, I proceeded then, fact-checking, calling CVS back, and I gave them their names. The one name that she gave us, the person doesn't even work in this area at all now. And the other name, they contacted them, and then they called me back tonight about 6 o'clock, 6:15, to tell me that the person that was named would be more than willing to meet with CVS, but they have not had any date made up for it. So I don't know who's telling the truth around here.
Well,
We're hearing 2
how
different
about we do
things all
one
the
thing
time.
at a time? Because right now, you've asked for a copy of the agreement. You wanted to see the agreement. This is the agreement Wawa's proposing. And I wasn't sitting in those meetings with Mr. Wiesner and Wawa, so I'm giving you the agreement, and I've asked Mr. Schuster to get your comments in writing so that I can take them directly back to Wawa.
Okay.
Once we get the language of the agreement worked out, Then all the other collateral pieces, like CVS agreeing, we can work those along the way. But I'd like to focus on the language they've proposed, because right now, that's the most imminent problem. I can't have the board consider approving something until the language is correct.
Yeah, but we don't even know why all these agreements have to be made, because before, CVS Wawa had no problem taking the fence down and putting the fence up in that area before. They've already done it. They're just replacing what the sloppy job they did.
I understand that you don't agree with it. I'm telling you that's
I
what
know,
has
I'm
to
not
happen.
saying this, but it's just not understanding. But anyway, we would like to ask to have a meeting like we did in February, because a lot got accomplished then, and it would have been finished had it not been for one person. But anyway,
Right now, I think it's most important that we get your written comments. We're now reducing things to writing. I
Wawa
don't want there to be any
has said
ambiguity.
they were more than willing to meet with us. Now, we'd like to ask for you, and I would like to have Craig Kenner approved to discuss some of the, be included in this, so we can understand the terminology that's in here, because some of the things we see is not what we've been told.
Okay, so give us a list of your issues.
Well,
LM, I don't want to keep moving the ball.
okay,
I
now
need
let
you
me-
to start putting this stuff
you
in
have not
writing
been
so
in
I
any
can
of the
go.
meetings, so-
Exactly why I need your written comments.
Okay, well, we'd like to invite you, if you
I-
don't want to meet, I will meet with Wawa, and Michelle will meet with Wawa, and we
No.
will discuss it. We would like
I've
to include
discussed
the
that with
township.
Wawa's attorneys, and they're not meeting with you anymore.
Why? They just told us
Because
today would.
they want to get this to a point where it ends,
I
and
know,
they
but
want the written comments. This is how we negotiate agreements,
Okay,
Ellen.
when did you discuss it with him? Because
I
Lori
discussed
this
it with
afternoon-
I discussed it with Mr. Hecker today.
Okay, well, Lori also told us they would meet with us. Now, who's telling the truth here?
Well,
And why, and furthermore, it has been 1 year since they had violation of the zoning board, the notice meeting. They were given 30 days to have it Hypeboro in or to be penalized after 90. It is 1 year tomorrow, the date of the
the
thing.
township has been engaged in this negotiation process with you helping for the last year. That's the whole point of this, was to bring them into compliance.
Nobody gives them permission. Well, I'm finding out now, why aren't they getting permission? And it seems to be that people aren't being contacted. Who's telling the truth here? I don't know. I'm being honest with you. But it is time now. It's almost I found papers, 2010 it started. It's almost going on 6 years. It's time it gets done.
LM, I think that you need to put everything in writing, your concerns, and they're legitimate, all legitimate,
Okay.
and get them to Mr. Schuster, and we can go from there.
All right, but we'll put it in writing, but I still want to meet face to face, because discussing back and forth gets it done, rather than having a month, and you're always concerned about the bills, where you get more lawyer bills. Face to face doesn't cost money.
Understood. And
They
we-
got
we
agreement,
want
they
this
were
to get
very
done in a
nice the
timely
last
fashion.
meeting, so why can't we meet face to face, and why are, what
Ellen,
have you
you
to be
understand,
up to
part
do?
of the reason why we make people put things in writing is so that the ball doesn't keep moving. If we put something in writing, and Wawa has now proposed terms in writing, that means they're not going to be able to retreat from that, because now it's in writing. If you want things done, I need your comments in writing, so Wawa has to respond to those. And we can't change things or move things around.
You know,
People
I
sitting
have
in a room
emails
and
even saying
talking.
that they would put in
Ellen,
a foot
please,
height bar.
please,
No,
don't
wait,
interrupt
let
me.
I
I'm
got
just
my 5
saying, I'm
minutes.
explaining to you
Do it.
why I'm asking.
Minutes are running out.
I'm explaining why I'm asking you to
Please
make
can't,
sure
not
that
counting
it's in
his time.
writing. I'm explaining why you need to put it in writing. This is how agreements like this get negotiated. And it stops people from changing positions and moving around because you have a paper trail.
I have a stack, and we have emails that we printed out. They're willing to do this and that before. And how come then they change their mind now?
So
This is the thing, they're all
make-
changing, even in writing, they're changing.
That's what I'm asking you to comment on that paper.
But
Write down anything that
right.
they've said differently or
Why does it have to be a
contradicted.
legal thing to put up a fence? They can still put the fence in. There's nothing
Because
stopping
it's
them
not,
putting the
no,
fence
they're
in.
not going to do that until this is wrapped
Well,
up.
they're in violation of the zoning ordinances.
And we are negotiating a resolution.
How long do you negotiate without
Until
finding them?
until we're satisfied. And that's what we're trying to get
Well,
to.
we met in February, and it was a satisfied meeting, and we'll be willing to meet with
Okay.
Wawa. If you people don't want to come, that's up to you, but if I have a meeting, do any of you want to meet with them? And if you don't,
Well, would you notify Mr. Schuster, and he will notify the board?
okay, but I mean, we're willing, I know you can't have the whole board because it's not permitted.
Correct.
I mean, I know that. So that I will know,
Right.
but I don't care who comes, we're not fussy about anything.
But in the meantime, you really need to make your notes
Right.
about that.
Well, we're
Start
just
putting
like-
everything.
Some of this isn't in English that we understand. And can we have Craig to look at this over, because we're the residents, to look at it for the residents of the township, so we understand what they're saying? Because they're not, in some of these plans, things have been removed.
Well, can you reach out to Mr. Schuster tomorrow, and perhaps he can help you work through that?
Well, he didn't know some of the stuff, because
Oh.
I talked to him before.
Because
So-
everything goes through the township manager.
Okay.
And then he
But
can
we
get
asked for
the,
him to have Craig
yes.
come, okay.
Yeah, we're trying to make because we all, look, we've been at this a long time.
I
and,
know, you've all been kind.
And no, we want a remedy that's gonna work. But the way we found is that we're all talking and we're all trying to help and we're all just running in place.
Yeah.
We're trying to, Greg's really good at this, because Greg's been on multiple sides of this. He's been an elected official, he's been a manager.
Right.
He knows, he's been a resident who's been impacted by decisions. He knows what needs to be done. So, like, if we send everything through Greg, he can get it to the right places instead of it going to this person and sitting. Remember what happened with the emails all those years, you know?
Well, you know what? In February, they were willing, and they even said they'll have it done by July this
Right.
year. And then the township got into all this little back and forth, and we have to call, we have to do, and nobody responded. This is why we're here now. We would have had it done had we just left it go with us. It's just red tape going on.
Yeah, Ellen, and I hope to bring this to some resolution. I mean, I've obviously new to all of this.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and I want to get this resolved as quickly as possible, simply because of the exorbitant amount of resources that we've spent on this. You know, I just want to get this resolved. So
Well, you shouldn't be sending a lot of resources because it's been solved. They were willing to do it, and then all of a sudden, somebody came around and said no.
Okay, so here's
They went to the meeting.
here's what I'm willing to do if you can do something for me. If you can send me that list of issues, questions, concerns, I will arrange a meeting with whomever has to be there, including Craig. You know, we could sit down for an hour and go through things. Well, you have a chance to go ahead and send a second written thing where we can go ahead and finalize all of this.
Yeah,
If I can get that from you, I will gladly set up that meeting and bring this to a resolution.
That sounds-
I would be appreciative of
Okay.
that. Yeah.
I look forward to getting the
But
email then. Thank you.
When you start hearing from one person that they didn't call, now you
Right.
begin to wonder who's playing us along.
Let's whisper down the lane, yeah.
All right, thank you, Ellen.
Trust in Greg.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you, Ellen.
Anita, how are you?
Oh, I've been better, thanks for asking. Anita Cook, 911 Otto Lane. So last month, it was a joke. Everybody was giggling and laughing when I said about the William Tennant House and the tax appeal. Remember? People in the audience were chuckling and clapping when I said, you know, if you own your house outright, you could just create a nonprofit and transfer it for transfer tax, and then you won't have to pay taxes to Warminster Centennial. And you laughed, and it was funny. And guess what? Nothing got done. It's amazing. It's just amazing. And we spoke on the phone, you and I, and then you said that you had already met with Jason for lunch, so it wasn't even worth taking it to the board because you wouldn't get a vote. So that's awesome to know that. So my question is, you know, I spoke with you on the phone.
Yeah,
It was the day of
absolutely.
the dedication at the train station.
Right.
You said you had lunch with Jason and
Oh,
had
that
already
day.
discussed it.
Yeah.
And so you wouldn't even take it to the
Well,
rest of the board.
well,
Wait, let me
okay,
finish.
no,
This is
go
my
ahead.
5 minutes.
You got it. All right.
That you wouldn't even take it to the rest of the board. Mr. Schuster, you have a master's in business, is that correct?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you know the difference between a 501c3 nonprofit and a purely public charity?
Yes?
Okay, because when you did your interview with the gentleman here from the Intelligencer, it didn't seem like you did, because you said, well, nonprofits often get tax waivers or tax, abatements.
I
But-
don't remember what I said, but.
Okay, well, that's frightening. I don't even get the Intelligencer, but I got that article in email from like 40 people. So my question is that what we're going to do? Like, I just pay my house off, and then I'll create like the Q-tip museum, and then I'll get tax abatement, and I won't have to pay taxes?
Welcome to try.
Well, I'm just going to use the model that William Tennant House used, and if you don't question them, you can't question me, because I'll sue you.
I'm not going to question you. I mean,
Okay.
look, I understand where you're coming from, and I honestly, I'm not a historian. I don't know whether
It
it's
has
legit or
nothing to
not.
do with history. It has
Right.
nothing to
Well,
do with history.
Right. Okay.
It's whether
right.
it's a purely public
Right.
charity or a nonprofit. They are two different things in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. I gave you a report that was issued by the Auditor General of the Commonwealth about this particular subject. And it meant nothing to you because it's only $385 a year. But over 40 years, what is that? My taxes went up, your taxes went up.
Right.
The school district said, well, we're not going to do it because the township's taking the lead. That's what I got in my letter,
Yes, I
and
saw
so
the
we're going to
letter.
follow the township's lead. So, great job, guys. I did speak with you on the phone, and I told you I was going to ask you these questions.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, when someone files for a tax appeal for a property in Warminster Township, who gets the notice?
Right.
Yeah, we get it in the office.
Okay. And who is notified of that, and who makes the decision whether or not it's worthy to go to the hearing?
That's a good question. Actually, it hasn't happened since I've been here, but...
I'm tired of hearing that. I've heard
if
it
you'd let me
3
finish
times
my
this
answer,
meeting.
I think...
Okay, certainly, go ahead.
I haven't had that occur since I've been here. But what I will do going forward is I do scan these requests for appeals, and if there's something I believe the board should be aware of or something we should review with the solicitor, I will go ahead and do so.
So you don't believe that that's, so you're saying if it's something you believe that the board should see, so it's up to your discretion what the board purviews and what they don't?
Well, the board is free to view whatever they want.
But if it goes through
again,
you-
I'm trying to respond.
Okay.
It's up to if the board wishes to see something, I would never withhold something, but we receive thousands of documents every single day, and if I were to give every single one of them...
No,
they
I
do
was
rely
talking
on-
about a specific type of document. I said when
understand.
someone files for a tax appeal. So you're going to make it your decision to decide whether or not it's worth the supervisors to see it. As the supervisors are here, would you not like to review it and have a voice in it?
Sure, and I
So
believe
then
we do
talk
have
about-
access on our Dropbox. It doesn't happen often. I mean, it's, I understand where you're coming
But
from.
that's not what he just said. He said...
It
that-
hasn't happened since he's here. Look, if...
Well,
not gonna
I'm
s-
sorry, I gave Mark a month to get
Okay.
these answers.
Okay, I'm sorry, I'll let you finish.
I asked him these-
I don't recall you asking me about
No,
that.
I
don't.
asked you a month ago, I said, Mark, when I come to the meeting, I'm going to ask you 2 questions, and you better be ready. And
Anita,
you're
there's
not.
2,562 municipalities in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. In my career as 20 years as a solicitor, I've represented 28 different municipalities. I can tell you that there is nothing unique about this township that isn't the same in every municipality in Bucks County, Montgomery County, Washington County, Allegheny County, Fayette County, and Greene County, which are all the counties I've worked in. Tax assessment appeals are filed routinely every year, usually in the month of August, by property owners, normally commercial businesses, where they are seeking a reduction based upon changes in market value. Those, every year, that happens.
Okay, but this was an elimination of taxes.
Let me finish. You're treating this as though it's something unique, and I'm explaining to you this is how these assessment appeals are handled throughout the Commonwealth. School districts, the 501 school districts in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, have the single greatest financial interest in tax assessments and tax assessment appeals. Starting in the Great Recession, school districts, every single school district in this area of the state, started proactively examining tax assessment appeals because they were losing revenue. As you have pointed out, every time a property assessment is changed or is adjusted, we lose money as part of our tax base. As a matter of proportionate risk, the school district always bears the expense of paying the tax assessment appeal lawyers to handle those cases. The township and the county do not routinely
Do not
involve
routinely.
ourselves
I understand
in
that.
tax assessment appeal matters because the cost benefit to Warminster Township doesn't justify the expense. So as the greatest stakeholder in a tax change, the Centennial School District, the Neshaminy School District,
But they're
Council Rock...
following your lead.
No, they
That's
do
what
not
they
follow
said in
our
writing.
lead.
They put
No,
it in
I've
writing to
seen-
me that they were following the township's lead by
Based
not-
upon prior activity
I'll
to
email you the letter.
encourage the Christ homes to set aside the property. They're not following our lead routinely in how they handle
But in
tax
this case,
assessment appeal
they
matters.
are, because they put it in writing to me, that they were following the lead of the township.
Nothing in that letter says that
What?
they are asking our
letter?
advice or consent. The letter that you're referring to, the Centennial
that
School
I
District letter.
received?
Yes, the one that they copied the township on. Nothing in that letter says that they asked us, do you want us to fight this appeal?
didn't say
And
that.
we communicated them. That's what you're inferring. And that's
That's what
not
I
the
was-
way it works.
They said they were following the township's lead in not pursuing the matter. And I'm sorry that you're surprised by these questions. I asked them to Mark, and I said I was going to ask them tonight. Unprepared, sorry about that. I also said I'm just at a loss as to when I ask the township supervisors something, when it gets hot and when it gets difficult questions to answer, I get, well, I'm just a drywall in style. I'm a good one, but I'm going to
And I go on advice
Wait,
of professionals.
wait,
That's why
exactly.
we hire professionals to advise us.
Well, just because you get advice doesn't mean it's good advice, and we had that conversation too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So in the future, because you said to come to you, and we see where that came, I got laughed at, it was a joke, I'm going to wear a flak jacket to the meeting.
I
It's
said
not
that?
funny. Yes, you did, in an email. Yeah, you did. I don't know who else was on it because I got it on my phone and I'm technically challenged. I just can't tell you the level of disappointment I have. So if I make a museum, or anyone in the township that owns their home outright and wants to do this, go for it. Because if you question us, you're going to have a difficulty because you didn't question them. I pointed out inaccuracies in their application where they outright fabricated 2 different items, and that wasn't even a problem for you guys. They said it's an unimproved parcel. Is there a building there? I know you're new to the township, but did you see a building there?
Obviously, there is a building there, yes.
Okay. And you don't have a problem with that? Maybe that's why they went through the Board of Assessments, because it was an unimproved parcel as opposed to a several-bedroom property? Maybe they thought it was just unimproved ground and it was just a couple bucks? Don't know. Yeah.
The structure had nothing to do with...
It has everything to do with the assessment on the property.
Let's do the assessment, not the appeal.
Well, in the assessment, it asked if the property's improved. None. It said that they were already approved by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Historic Museum Commission or another entity for historic designation. They are not. I have it in writing.
Nope.
Nope. So you didn't care, you didn't research, there's no due diligence, and you're just going to throw it on the school district who's throwing it back at you. I'll be going to them next. And I'm very disappointed. I can't even express the level of disappointment in all of you collectively. Thank you.
I just want 1 second here. Am I understand that you had that Jason and Mark had a conversation at breakfast and decided that
Lunch.
you
Well, we had a
forward
brief
with this?
conversation
At
about,
lunch.
listen, I'm going to defer this to the professionals for professional advice.
What
And that
I'm
was where I
saying is
left it at that.
communicating
professionals'
with the
advice.
rest of the board, guys. But you
All right,
two,
before you
let me finish. Let me
Take it
finish.
to the board because we wouldn't have enough.
No, I
wouldn't
pushed
get
it
enough
back to the
votes.
township
No,
manager,
you told
is
me.
what I did.
No, you said to me.
And the township manager communicates with the board, the
Okay.
entire board.
Okay. So you said it wouldn't go anywhere because you had already discussed it with Jason and I wouldn't get the votes.
No, and I said, I've discussed it with Jason, because we just happened to mention it at that groundbreaking. I said, and I'm going to defer to the professionals.
And I
That's what I
decided
did.
I wouldn't, I'm not for it because it would, the cost-benefit ratio. And I know that disappoints you, and I apologize, but that's why I was
Can
against
I
it.
ask you, Mr. Savona, if there's a hearing that you have to go to or someone from East Burning Grove who represents all parties in this, which is ironic, how much time is expended on
What
that?
parties are you talking about?
I'm talking about the school district and I'm talking about the township.
We don't represent the Centennial School District.
Mr. Van Leuven doesn't represent the Centennial School District?
No, Mr. Van Leuven's not a solicitor. Mr. Van Leuven's a land use attorney.
For the Centennial School
I
District?
deferred to the
Mr.
professionals.
Van Leuven doesn't work on tax assessment. We don't
Okay,
represent the school district.
Okay. If you had to go to an assessment hearing, how many hours would be expended in that?
It depends on the case.
Okay.
I can tell you that I was involved in a case like this similar. It's a request for an exemption. We keep calling it an assessment appeal. It's not an appeal. It's an exemption.
Exemption, right.
And the Board of
No
Assessment has independent discretion to make decisions based on exemption applications. In 2008, Pennswood Village down in Middletown Township, which is a large property, applied for an exemption based on the fact that they're now a CCRC, a tax-exempt organization, and asked for a complete exemption from their tax bills. The school district, the county, the township all had issues with the application. We were preparing to go to the hearing and object, and the Board of Assessment granted the exemption without a hearing. So the Board of Assessment has independent discretion to hear and decide those things. They review their internal records. They know what properties are available. The Chief Assessor's Office, they send representatives to inspect the properties before they're exempted. They do their own independent review.
I'm asking you a question.
If I have to go and fight in an exemption situation, there is a record that's been made in the Board of Assessment that I have to review. There are financial records, there are all sorts of records, there are expert witnesses you'd have to call to testify to the things that you're alleging. The litany of documents that you brought in, you can't just plunk those down on a desk in front of a judge, as you well know. So you've got to build a case, and all of that takes preparation. A typical battle to fight an exemption could cost upwards of $5,000, $6,000, $8,000, depending on how much time it takes and how hard they fight the appeal.
So you just couldn't go in and say they lied on their application?
Your husband's an attorney. You know that you can't just walk in and tell the judge, "They lied, Your Honor," and
You can't
oh,
write
you
a letter
win.
and ask them to
No,
reconsider?
you can't.
Right, right. So it's going to cost $7,000?
It could cost upwards of that. I
Upwards.
can't tell you that without
So
knowing
it
how
takes
involved
that
the
many-
case
at
gets.
what dollar an hour?
It's the
$175?
$155 an hour that the township
Okay.
pays.
Wow, that's a lot of hours. I can't do the math in my head this late. Okay,
All
thank
right,
you.
thanks, Anita.
Thanks, Anita.
Come on up.
Hi, Pat Boyle, 409 Grand Avenue. I just have a couple questions. Didn't this board meet with Ann's Choice and with Good Shepherd and work out the tax issues there?
Ann's Choice was a complicated, yes.
But you
We
met and
ultimately
worked it out?
did, yes. That property was under a pilot, what they call a pilot agreement, a payment in lieu of taxes agreement, going all the way back to the year 2000, when the property was first approved as a Keystone Opportunity Zone. There was litigation subsequent to that, as that agreement was starting to expire, where they were challenging whether or not they had to be repaid all that money because KOZs aren't eligible for pilot agreements. There was litigation. We did go through an extensive negotiation, and we ultimately settled with them where instead of paying back, I think something like $18 million, we ended up getting $80 million over the next 40 years in pilot payments.
And do you guys get to decide who's a tax exempt organization or not?
No.
Isn't that the IRS?
It's done by the IRS, 501c3.
And the township has no say in the matter?
That's correct.
So it's just up to the IRS, so you guys can't do anything about it?
The 501c3 designations aren't appealable.
Okay, that's what my question was. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Any other public comment? All right, seeing none, I'm going to move on to the consent agenda. Mr. Schuster?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Going through the consent agenda, item A is consideration of your minutes for your June 16th meeting. Item B is approval of a resolution that will allow myself and the Public Works Director to electronically file the liquid fuels forms. Item C is replacing Mr. Wiesner with myself as the Chief Administrative Officer of the pension plans for the township. Items D, E, and F are all land development escrow releases which have been reviewed and recommended by the engineer. Item G is a professional services escrow release as recommended by staff. That project is completed and there's no need for the escrow anymore. Item H is authorization to advertise for multiple vacancies we have on the zoning hearing board. We have a member and an alternate member vacancy on that board. Item I is a resolution redefining the Economic Development Committee. This is on here at the request of Mr. Crowley. At the last meeting, there was a citizen who expressed interest. The committee is currently full, so this resolution would add 2 citizen advisors to that committee. And item J is to ratify my recommendation to appoint John Marcarelli as the finance director for Warminster Township.
Okay. Is there a motion on the consent agenda?
Motion.
Mr. Monroe, second.
Second.
Mr. Crowley, any questions on the consent agenda? From the board, any questions from the public? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Motion carries. Next up is the treasurer's report. Mr. Monroe.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First up, we have the transfers dated for June 30th, 2016, the amount of $89,980.47. We also have a supplemental bill list dated June 29th, 2016, in the amount of $218,368.77, as well as a bill list dated July 21st, 2016, in the amount of $1,592,898.79.
Okay, is there a second on the motion to approve the bill list and transfers?
Second.
Mr. Crowley, any questions from the board, comments from the board? No. None? Any from the public? Seeing none, call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The chair votes aye. Next up is the June financial statement. Mr. Schuster.
Mr. Chairman, the financials continue to be in good shape. All trends continue to be positive. The revenues are higher than expected in many line items. We had some large property sales that contributed to increased transfer taxes above and beyond what we budgeted for. On the expenditure side, things continue to be at or below projections for most items. We will have a budget amendment at your next meeting. I tried tried to have it for this meeting, but we had some last-minute changes, and I want to ask a few questions on those. But altogether, it's a very, very positive report, and if you have any further questions, please let me know. I'll be happy to go through it with you.
Okay. Any questions on the financial statement from the board? No? Okay, let's move on. We don't have any unfinished business tonight, so we're going to go right to new business. Authorization to advertise Ann's Choice Street Lighting District Ordinance. Mr. Schuster.
Mr. Chairman, in the past, I'm not sure how many years ago, there was an ordinance which established this district in order to recoup expenses from the streetlights. It was then amended, and erroneously, the Ann's Choice area was omitted from that ordinance. This is correcting that error so we can go ahead and recoup those expenses going forward.
Okay, can I have a motion to authorize the advertisement for the Ann's Choice Street Lighting District Ordinance?
So moved.
Mr. Crowley, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Monroe, any further questions or comments from the board?
No.
Questions or comments from the public? Come on up, Marie.
I want you to explain it to me. You are talking about the lights that goes into that avenue. I have to say.
Johnsville Boulevard?
My name is Marie Brzezinski.
Sorry, Marie.
Road. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. This is the lights that
Yes.
go into that avenue in front of Van Choice,
The
right?
streetlights, correct.
And for the last 3 or 4 months, I have been thinking, how come that we cannot have, if not the same amount of lighting, at least a little light, better, now that we have the gas and all the cheaper fuel, some type of nice light in the York Road when you come from the turnpike. And you are entering into County Line Road, and you make a left on York Road, and you come into a dead township, dark and dead. Now we are going to have Taco Bell, so hopefully they will put some margaritas there or something.
I don't believe they have margaritas, but that's a good idea.
You follow what I'm
I know
trying to
exactly
say?
what you're saying, yes.
You make a left on County Line Road, and you get into Warminster, you say, oh my God, especially me going to Europe every year. The minute I arrive to that turn, I say, oh, I'm in hell.
You know, Marie, we are getting ready to update our comprehensive plan throughout the township.
For all the little shady signs that somebody made a few years ago, I don't want to mention names, of Warminster that nobody sees because we are driving, and I'm talking about the one in the pharmacy into York Street and York Road. There is a sign in there. I don't know who sees that. It would have been so much better. Light provides safety.
Understood. Well,
Absolutely. That's why we always have our lights on at home. Let me tell you, you put your lights on, nobody's going to rob
all
you.
right. Well, Marie, we're getting a little off subject here.
So, I know I'm off the subject, but I didn't want to lose the
But as
point.
far as the lighting on County Line Road, that will be brought up as part of the comprehensive plan.
No, I'm not talking County Line Road, I'm talking about York.
On York Road as well. No, I
York
mean, we're going to
Road,
look at the entire
all the way
township.
to Street Road. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie. Any other comments from the public on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question on the motion to advertise the Ann's Choice Street Lighting District Ordinance. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The chair votes aye, the motion carries. Item B, authorized to advertise police pension ordinance amendment. Mr. Schuster?
Mr. Chairman, the collective bargaining agreement was ratified with the police union. As part of that, there were changes for the police pension plan. This would incorporate those changes into the ordinance governing that plan.
It also updates us to reflect Act 51, which changed the killed in service benefit to being paid by the township.
Right.
For the survivors of the officers to being paid directly by the Commonwealth. So it's in our interest to make
adopt
those
this.
adjustments to the pension.
Okay. So can I get a motion to authorize the advertisement of police pension ordinance amendment?
So moved.
Mr. Crowley, can I get a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Monroe, any discussion from the board? Any discussion from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion carries. Megan? Item C, Havis Landscaping Modification, request relief from sidewalk addition. Mr. Kennard.
Mr. Bernard, I don't know if you want to say anything before I get into my...
No, because of the complicated layout of where the Woodard sewer lines are, gravity feeding the sewer, we had to make field changes, and it's really nowhere now at this point to put the sidewalk up. And we're also looking at some of the gardening things to make it work a little bit better.
Yes.
And I had a meeting out on the site, I guess, June 20th. You documented in your letter to the Township July 6, 2016, to look at those changes, come up with any alternatives. It was discussed with Township staff to have me go out there and look. And there was no alternatives based on the existing vegetation, the creek, the water and sewer main. So I recommended, after discussion with the solicitor's office and Mr. Schuster, just a housekeeping item, that this is actually a waiver of the condition, which I'm sure Mike will go over with you, of your September 28, 2015 letter, where a condition is, as itemized, that a sidewalk extension from Jacksonville Road up to the proposed building is required. That was discussed at Planning Commission, and there's no feasible alternative to install the sidewalk now. It was supposed to be ADA accessible, and the alternative would not be because of existing steps and a severe slope. So I put my seal of approval on it out there, did the inspection, and recommended this letter be sent to the township, and he appeared tonight. So I think we're ready for, defer to Mike on the motion. But again, there was other changes done. There's field changes, landscaping. I think the board is aware of a few of those. I did work those out with Mr. Bernard, and we negotiated some changes to the plan, all minor, but this is one that we couldn't resolve out in the field.
Okay, so why don't we craft a motion, and then we can have, if there's any discussion from the board or the...
It's a very simple motion. The motion would be to waive condition number 3 of the September 28th, 2015 approval letter for the Havis land development, so as not to require the construction of a sidewalk extension from the existing public sidewalk along Jacksonville Road to the existing building at 75 Jacksonville Road.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Crowley, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. McPhillips, is there any comment from the board on the motion?
Not for me, sir.
Any from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next up is item D, consider awarding the consortium fuel contract for 2016-2017 to Superior Plus Energy Services, Inc. Mr. Schuster.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Occasionally, we do go out to bid. There's several areas where we can do our bidding. We could do it individually. We could use co-stars. In this case, the township did use the Bucks County Consortium. They went, and you can see all the results in your packet, but there is a recommendation there for unleaded gas and diesel to purchase from Superior Plus Energy Services.
Okay. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Mr. Monroe, is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Crowley, any questions on the motion? Comments from the board? Seeing none, any questions or comments from the public? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Item E. Item E, consider accepting Darlene Baker's resignation as a voting member on the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee for the term expiring December 2007. No, I'm reading Renee here.
Yeah.
And Advisory Committee, and appointing her as a citizen advisor for a term expiring December 2016. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it does, because they're jumping in.
Right.
You want me to
Okay.
explain a little
Yeah,
bit?
yeah, would you?
Yeah, so item E and F I'll take together. What we have here are two members. One is a citizen member and one is a full voting member. They just want to switch positions because of time. One of them has time constraints, so they just want to go ahead and make that change. So essentially, they're just jumping into each other's terms and switching positions. That's what those two items are.
And I think Darlene has a conflict with work, that she's having difficulty being present for the meetings. And Darlene's been a long-term member of the Park Board. She's also the president of the Friends of the Park as well. She's done a tremendous amount of work for the township, and she still wants to stay involved. I got an email from her that this is the best thing for all involved. So do we need to do this on a separate motion? Or
Yeah, if you could, consider them both separately, E and F.
Okay. All right, well, let's take action on item E first. Is there a motion to accept Arlene's resignation and appoint her as a citizen advisor to the Park Board?
So moved.
Mr. McPhillips, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Monroe, any comments on the motion? Any from the public? None? Seeing none? Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Then we'll go right to item F. Consider appointing citizen advisor Renee Stecklin to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee as a voting member for a term expiring in December of 2017. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mr. McPhillips, is there a second?
Second.
That's correct.
Any questions or comments from the board on the motion?
No.
Hearing none? Any questions or comments from the public?
A 17.
17, correct. Seeing none,
late.
call a question. All in favor?
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Motion carries. Okay. Item G, consider appointment of Jacqueline Wiest, I pronounced that right, I hope, as a member to the Environmental Advisory Council for a term expiring in December of 2017. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Crowley, is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Monroe, any discussion on the motion?
Just a comment, I had the opportunity to sit down with Ms. Wiest over breakfast about a week ago, and highly educated, eager member of our community.
I read your
And-
resume, it's impressive.
And I look forward to serving on our EAC.
Yeah, and we thank you for stepping up and getting involved. Thank you, so.
And she's quite the Facebook fame, too.
Oh, my God, you got a lot of hits. I'm gonna hang around with you. If I hang around with you, you got a lot of hits.
That's how I
Holy smokes.
became first aware of Jacqueline, is through that video, and there was certainly a lot of passion and care in there, particularly for your community. So that's what really caught my eye.
And my wife sitting next to you, she'll warn you not to accept my friend request. So. Don't do it. Anyway, if there's no other comment from the board or any comment from the public, I'll call the question. All in favor? Oh, come on up, Larry. Do you have a comment on the motion to appoint Jacqueline? Come on up.
I have been through 3 iterations of the Environmental Advisory Council. I have met no one who is as qualified or more qualified than her. I think between the 2 ladies sitting there, they could take over this council and do at least as well as I am.
Okay.
Don't tempt us, Larry.
So moved. Okay.
On that motion.
Any other comment from the public on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the chair votes aye. Congratulations and welcome aboard. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to professional reports. Township Manager's Report. Mr. Schuster.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You have my written report in case any of you have any questions. 2 things I will mention. First of all, if there's no objection, I will be canceling the August 4th meeting. The second thing is the other day I had a chance, along with our Public Works Director, to go to a sponsored breakfast and seminar by PICO for all the local municipalities in the area. It was very informative, but one of the things that they asked that we stress, and I'll do so now for your benefit and for the public, is to call 811, the call before you dig. It is incredibly critical that occur. They said even if you're moving a mailbox, as innocent as that may seem, you could be hitting an underground utility. And the message was you'd rather be calling 811 than 911. So I would urge everyone to make sure you make that call before you stick anything in the ground.
Okay. Is there any questions or comments for the Township Manager? No? Greg, you're getting off the hook easy tonight. All right. Okay. Move on to the Solicitor's Report. Mr. Savona?
Likewise, Mr. Chairman, I know we're getting late. You have my written reports. If you have any questions, I'm happy to discuss with you. 2 matters I will highlight for the board's edification. One relates to our codification. We did receive confirmation from General Code that we expect that their revised and updated draft, incorporating all of the ordinance changes from 2012 through, I believe, the end of last year, will be completed and delivered to the township for review in October. Once we get that back, it always comes with an errata sheet and a bunch of questions and information we'll reconcile and get the final version prepared. Then we'll be in a position to launch that through the process to adopt. My hope is still, if it comes in early enough in October, there's a chance we might be able to get this done by the end of the year. If not, it's very likely by January of next year, we will have a final and adopted codification.
Beautiful.
So we're keeping my fingers crossed. Last item I'll point out is that the Township's zoning ordinance amendment that we discussed a while back that addresses a variety of miscellaneous uses, including some of those troublesome hookah bars and massage parlors and other type uses. That is under review right now by the County Planning Commission. I'm expecting them to meet on August 3rd at their regular meeting to approve the review letter that the staff has prepared. Once we get that those review comments back, it's already been to our local planning commission, so we'll be in a position to schedule a hearing on that ordinance, most likely in September. I don't think we'll have enough time to advertise in time for the August 18th meeting, but we'll look to schedule that for a hearing in front of this board in September so that you can proceed to get those regulations adopted.
Right.
And that's it.
Excellent. Anyone have any questions or comments for Solicitor? No? Okay, and then we'll move on to the engineer's report. Mr. Kennard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have a 5-page engineer's report, so I will not go through every item.
Thank you.
And to save some time here and not get fired. One update on the capital improvements section of the township on page 1. The road program is, on our end, is pretty much complete, and we've turned everything over to Public Works. I know an effort to save township expenses or reduce expenses, Public Works will now be taking over inspections and working on the paving themselves. If you recall, we separated out milling, paving, and the handicap concrete work. So the only item we will make sure is inspected on our end is the handicap ramps for compliance with ADA, and everything else now is in Public Works, and I believe they actually started this week. I'm not sure if Greg is aware of that or not, but that is pretty much completed our end. In the land development, just a quick update on plans that will be coming in. We received 5 applications, I think, all within 1 week. Staff, we've gone through a couple of them already at staff level, and we are currently at Gilmore Associates starting the review on several of them. Long stress school property, that will be, that has been submitted, anticipation of review at the September Planning Commission meeting. Christ Home, the Child Development Center. This is a separate piece of parcel. They've been in before in front of you for a sketch plan. They submitted their plans for a 16,000 square foot Child Development Center over near York Road. That will be at the 2nd August meeting for Planning Commission scheduled. Stubb Road, the old swim club, that has also been submitted. There's some ongoing discussion there, but we're anticipating, so that may be on the September 13th Planning Commission meeting, but that's to be determined. Ann's Choice, I'm not sure if everybody's aware, but Ann's Choice has come in for amended final. They're proposing a 26,000 square foot 2-story expansion, including a pedestrian bridge to connect 2 of the existing buildings. It was actually contemplated as part of the original approval and never built. With all the new stormwater regulations and accessibility requirements, they need to modify the parking lot slightly, and they have to obtain an MPDS state permit for stormwater now because of the scope of the project. So we had this over at Franklin Corp a couple times where existing projects approved. They wait too long, and then they get stuck with the additional stormwater requirements above and beyond township requirements. So we did have a staff meeting on that, and it's not a complicated project, but I'm sure everybody will be asking about the Ann's Choice addition. And the last project that came in is the Warminster Express. That's scheduled over on 440 Street Road, a 4,000 square foot car wash, automated car wash, and that's scheduled for Planning Commission second meeting in August.
Have they submitted a sketch?
They actually submitted preliminary land development plans. The 5 projects I just mentioned are actually preliminary land, no sketch plans were beyond that on most of those, and you know, some of them get the review letter and then they regroup and go back, clean up the plans, but that's what's upcoming on land development. One comment I have to address as part of the requirements of the development agreement in township blasting application over at the station at Bucks County East, your transit-oriented development, you had a groundbreaking for almost, I guess, a month ago. They're off and running with construction, and part of the blasting permit requirement is I just notify the Township Board of Supervisors that that permit is ready to be issued, and your fire marshal signed off. He's waiting for me to make the announcement
And
tonight.
where are they blasting anyway?
Where are they?
Yes.
Where? Pretty much through the middle of the site. I mean, there's quite a bit.
On the east side, not where they're doing the exit out of the train station?
Correct, yeah. Farther into the site.
east side. I got
Yeah,
it.
farther into the site. They have worked over the last probably month with the township staff, mainly Joe Velton, Fire Marshal Karen Holsheiser Karen McNair from my office, and they emailed today saying they're ready to go. This is the last requirement. They had to
make
post
sure we
twice.
get that info out to the public, so we're not.
Yes, and they
inundated
had,
with calls.
and just so everybody knows, there was, they had a pre-blast survey, they had to conduct surveys of the existing surrounding properties. There's a very long list of state requirements.
Check that out.
I try to stay out of that. The township L&I department handles most of that, which Mr. Joe Velton. My obligation is to notify you tonight in public that a blasting permit will be issued.
Okay.
All right. Outside of that, that's all the comments. I'll take any
Yeah,
questions.
the only question I have is, now that Chick-fil-A's underway, the number one question in town is Rosemore Donuts. How's it going?
No activity at this time, the township's not undertaking any further activity to work on Rosemore Donuts. They are significantly overdrawn in their escrow and have not replenished that account despite numerous warnings. They are also, they have not paid the required transportation mitigation impact fee from PennDOT, so I notified their attorney that the township would be undertaking no further review activity or cooperating with them. The last I had heard from Mr. Harris, they were working with their financiers to, I guess, refinance and get some additional capital out to pay off the escrow balances to clean up the project, but I haven't heard from Steve.
They're still interested in continuing with the project.
They're interested in continuing, but it's been radio silence for a while.
And the major issue is, they got through the township. It was PennDOT that,
Yes.
at the end, unfortunately, just like I mentioned, Ann's Choice and the state permit, I mean, the requirements nowadays are actually with PennDOT and the state-owned stormwater. Everybody's, we'll handle that later. It's a condition of approval, and then they start modifying the driveway. Trucks can't get in, and that's really what happened at Rosemore was the truck circulation, the mitigation measure that's required that PennDOT is required, not the township.
Right.
It's above and beyond any of your requirements. So,
Okay.
You talked about cleaning up the project. What
Yeah.
about cleaning up the site?
The site,
There's
right.
trash bags all over there.
We
This is-
did send a notification out. I believe there was a round of cleanup. If it's gotten dirty again, we'll go ahead and send another notification out.
Perfect.
I mean, that was originally part of their demolition permit, and I don't know whether permits were issued, but that could be enforced through those permits at L&I, and should be. Because they're not under full construction. The erosion control, the county conservation district can't really enforce anything right now.
Yeah, it's on the property code, so.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Kennard? Good board. No. See none, I'm going to move on to item 10, Township Manager announcement of upcoming agenda items. That's coming up, Marie. That's coming up after this, Marie.
Not yet.
For Craig?
Why don't we let Mr. Schuster get through, and then we'll let you.
Okay.
It'll only take me a minute. Traffic signal specifications, a lot of work's been done on that. That'll be on your next agenda. I'll try to get it out to you early. It is a very comprehensive and heavily engineering-focused document, so you can have fun with that. Other than that, Craig really stole my thunder with talking about the 5 land development reviews that have come in. Obviously, this does present some scheduling challenges, but I know Craig and everyone else is going to work through it. Hopefully, this won't be a huge impact when you get towards September, October. Worst case scenario, you may have to have 2 meetings in one of those months because of this, but we'll see how things go. All in all, it's a good problem to have.
Yeah, sure. Right.
Quick question. Do we know next activity we might see on the Longstreth property?
That'll be the final.
Yeah. I only ask because Marie's here, and I know Marie's...
It was actually scheduled last because of the scope of it, but we actually started it first because it came in on the top of the pile.
Right.
So that actually was started, and then once we had staff meeting, we arranged a little bit the schedule. Because of the complexity of it, it takes up a lot more time. So we actually, tomorrow, I'll already be issuing the Ann's Choice review. I have a meeting scheduled tomorrow morning with Karen, so Ann's Choice will get that. They may want to clean it up, and they may push back their meeting, so we may move. We're trying to get them as quickly done as possible.
Right.
Kind of even way ahead of the schedule, so people have time to react. Planning Commission can even just do a presentation only and keep because there's so many, and whoever's not ready will move the next one up. So I got all hands on deck. In fact, 5-page engineer letter. That's
What is the next? He asked about what is the next step for Longstreth?
it's preliminary plan approval.
Right.
Okay.
Right,
I'm
because,
sorry.
it's Marie is particularly interested in that.
Yeah,
So,
all projects I mentioned were all at preliminary or final.
So, all
approval.
right, but that's not currently on the agenda for August, correct?
It will not be. It has to go through Planning Commission first.
September,
Yep.
that'll be September.
Just, I promise you I'd keep you up to date, okay? All right.
I anticipate an engineer meeting on that type of project, which we've done in the past, knowing their engineer very well. He'll want to come in, clean up the letter, the plans, and probably resubmit, but.
Got it. Thank you, sir.
Maria, we want to call for public comment. Is this a public comment question? So
Yes.
if there's no more questions for Mr. Savant or Mr. Kennard from the board, I'm going to move on to public comment. So
Thank
go
you.
ahead, Marie, it's all yours.
Okay, my name is Marie Brzezinski, the 98 Roberts Road. And I had a question that I never understand him very well. And I understood that he said that there is going to be a car wash at 44th Street Road in Warminster.
They're proposing one.
And where is the car wash that we have now in York Road? What happens to that one? So we are getting a new one somewhere else
That's what they're proposing.
on the 44th Street Road. Where is
44 West Street Road.
The BP, you
Where
know where the.
where is 44 West Street Road?
It's at the BP gas station
The BP gas
at
station.
440
Thank
West
you.
Street Road.
That was one question. The other question was not a question, but an issue. With all the work that we are doing, the second time now to these people called the station, the train station, the east, the west, whatever. You guys, I am not a Girl Scout. Okay, so how come we have never been able to fix the right turn on Jacksonville Road and pave all those bumps? How come we cannot ask those people? Let me explain it to you. $750,000 were paid by Pathmark to build a traffic light. When we told Pathmark, if you don't let us have a traffic light in there, we will not go shopping in there anymore. That happened in the 80s in this township. How come you cannot force PennDOT to fix those bumps when we make it right on a street road into Jacksonville Road?
Sure.
And those bumps have been there since I was a little girl. With all the money that these people are putting into all these buildings and constructions and everything. It's my question, and I hope that you consider seriously to put it.
I actually
in
have,
your head.
you're right, that's PennDOT. The only thing this board could do is ask the township manager on behalf of the township to make sure those areas are fixed as part, because now's
Can
the
we
time.
go to Facebook, to PennDOT, to Facebook, the entire township,
We could
and
at
tell
least do
them
that.
we will never?
But now's the time to do it, so as they're doing their project, and they're
Right.
paving that, installing the signals and turning all the lanes, that would be the time to do all that.
Right.
But PennDOT has to require that. I have no jurisdiction, neither does this township
But
or
you
board.
cannot ask them to do that on behalf of the.
can make the request.
Yes,
township
yes,
su-
the township can ask.
Residents?
Yeah, we can make the
Yeah, we can
request.
push.
Sure.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Then we'll push.
The residents of Warminster are really upset. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Marie.
Thank you for listening. You guys have a good night.
Thank you, Marie. Is there any other public comment from the two public
no more
people that are left? that are left? Mhm, okay, let's move on to supervisors' comments. Mr. Monroe?
Just with respect to these board openings, I mean, it's really, as we started the meeting today with respect to Ms. Lynch, who's had all those decades of volunteer service to the community, there's a lot of anger, concern, frustration, and whatnot with respect to the water. And when you have people that are out there that are frustrated, I just like to remind people that the best way to really take action is to get involved in the local government. That's what we all got started up here, and everyone that's been appointed to the board. So I commend the people that we appointed to the board positions today, and I'd like to just press the public to reach out to us if they want to get involved.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Well, Mr. McPhillips?
No comment.
Mr. Crowley?
I just want to thank Tim Hagee for coming and doing that presentation. That was very elucidating. There was, Mr. Hagee doesn't like to brag about what the WMA does. He should. I saw an article a couple weeks back where a resident rightly had the impression that we weren't responding or we weren't doing anything, and that because we didn't tell them what was going on. And we saw tonight that the WMA's been on top of this since the beginning, and that we're more advanced than, I would say, most of the other townships dealing with this. I thank the men and women over at the WMA, Mr. Hagee, for coming and answering the questions of the residents. And together, all of us, the residents, EAC, the board, professionals, we'll just keep on fighting the good fight in this area. So, just wanted to thank them.
Okay. The only comment I have is it's going to be blazing hot this weekend, so please check in on the elderly. It's going to be up to 105 with the humidity, or close to 110 Saturday and Sunday I was watching, so please check in on any of your elderly residents. So that's all I have, and prior to adjournment, for motion to adjourn, I'm going to ask for a brief executive session after the meeting to discuss a real estate acquisition. So with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr. Crowley.